Hello and welcome to Tales from the Crips, a whitewater storytelling podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Cripps. This is part 3 of my interview with Nathan Werner, and I want to say a few words before we jump into this one. First of all, it does involve a serious whitewater accident that resulted in a fatality, so please use discretion listening to this. Secondly, it's not entirely a coincidence that it's taken hours to lead up to the heavy part of this story, as this is quite challenging for Nathan to recount, and his composure while telling it shouldn't be misconstrued otherwise. He's spent years now working through it and talking it out with people close to him. So I'm a believer that honestly recounting these stories, rather than just sweeping them under the table, is difficult but important. So with that, let's get into it. First, let me give a little word to my sponsors who continue to help me make this possible. First up is Four Corners Riversports. Four Corners Riversports is located in Durango, Colorado. They're a full-service paddle sports retail and rental store. If you're looking to get on the water, look no further than Four Corners Riversports. Call them at 970-259-3893 or visit their website at www.riversports.com. This episode is also sponsored by Taylor Barker with the group real estate Steamboat. I've known and paddled with Taylor for years, and he brings passion to everything he does. Steamboat Springs is a wonderful town with the Yampa River running right through it, and it has a vibrant and friendly boating community. If you're thinking of making a move to the Steamboat area or purchasing a vacation home, be sure to get in touch with Taylor. He's happy to give you a lay of the land, the real estate market, and help find the perfect property for you. You can reach him at 336-314-4353 or by email at taylor@brokerintheboat.com. And you can find those links in the show notes. This podcast is being featured on paddlinglife.com. Paddlinglife.com does a wonderful job of finding all the most interesting happenings in the world of paddling and bringing them straight to you in the form of news, interviews, articles, videos, and more. Check it out. paddlinglife.com. And now it is time for the show. But I mean, at this point, I think we've kind of gone like your whole timeline up to this point in your life. And I think it's pretty clear to people that like you must be feeling, like you said, your life is largely about kayaking. You're really committed to it. You must be feeling like really good about your kayaking too at this point. You're strong from an expedition perspective. You're strong from a paddling perspective. Like, where are you, besides like your life goal of trying to be like Leif, like how are you feeling about kayaking fitting into your life and like what you want to do with it at this point in your life? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, being like Leif. So the difference between Leif and I is Leif is a physicist and I'm a applied physicist. So all the theory and stuff that he'll never actually do anything with, I actually put practical application to and implement.
I think now he's a boat maker and a slumlord now, though.
Yeah. Aspirations. I do aspire to that. So much of everything was kayaking driven, and my off seasons were training to go kayaking and planning kayaking missions and where to go next, and pushing myself with kayaking, and I really enjoyed that hard kayaking aspect, and doing rivers that were on the hard end.
What do you think what was the appeal?
I think it's the flow state and the feeling. I've read some books about flow states, and Stephen Coulter has a really good one. It's called The Rise of Superman or Becoming Superman. It's one of those two. And,
I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
It's all about flow states and how you get into these flow states and they create this just euphoric state, and time slows down. You're in tune with everything, and these books, and this book in particular, talks about how extreme athletes and rock stars get into those flow states the easiest. And it talks about how a lot of ODs in rock stars is chasing flow states. They get this flow state on stage, and they're chasing that feeling, and they end up chasing it through drugs, and they OD and they kill themselves. And it translates that flow state is the same feeling, whether you're a rock star performing in front of people or extreme athlete, chasing a waterfall. You get into a hard rapid, and you scout this rapid, and you see the line. You get into the eddy above and get in your boat, and you're just there, and you're in the zone. And the zone is the other thing people call flow states, and so I think it's you end up figuring out how to get into flow states and what that feeling of flow states are. So now you're chasing that feeling of flow states, and the more you do something, the better you get at it. The more you kind of have to push the limits of that, or the edge of your ability to hit that flow state.
Yeah, makes sense. Very, very analogous to a drug, in fact.
Yeah. Yep. You're an entry-level kayaker, and you go do Browns Canyon, and Class 3 puts you in a flow state. You're a Class 5 plus expedition kayaker. That Class 3 just doesn't do that for you. So you keep chasing that expedition and that hard whitewater to get into that flow state. And, so I think that feeling gets ingrained in your brain, and then you end up kind of chasing that and pursuing it. For me, I've always seen the industry of kayaking as its niche. It's not a big sport. It's never going to be skiing or mountain biking. And if you're a pro mountain biker or a pro skier, like, you could make a good living and a career out of that. You look at the sport of kayaking, and I mean, there might be 10 people making a living actually from kayaking, and even then they're making a living from their sponsors and outside things.
Right.
And, I never saw that as a viable option to me, and that was why I ended up in whitewater design. Was I saw that as a way to make kayaking my career. So I did really let the sport of kayaking kind of drive lifestyle. And that's why I say, for me, kayaking was a lifestyle. I went to college for a certain thing that was related to kayaking. I did civil engineering to design kayak parks. I trained in the off season to get my body right to go kayaking. As soon as there was water, I would go kayaking. And Riley Adams used to give me shit about this all the time. It's like, it's spring skiing season, the best skiing. And I'm like, but there's almost enough water in this run. We should go kayaking.
Priorities.
And and now that's not my lifestyle. He's like, damn, I moved away at the wrong time. But yeah, I let kayaking kind of drive, and I saw it as a lifestyle. I never really pursued that I want to be a pro kayaker or sponsored kayaker, because I kind of felt like as a whitewater designer, that there's more money in that pathway of kayaking, and that was the only way that I saw that I could make a career related to the sport of kayaking. I'm not a boat builder, and I'm not really a marketer and that kind of stuff. So that never really was what I aspired to. So my way to see kayaking as a lifestyle and career was to do it through whitewater design, which then it was like, oh, well, I design these things for a living, so I better go kayaking every day. I got to go play boat over here because there's water in it, and I got to see if it's any good. It's research. So I did that a lot. I knew that I was pretty good at kayaking. I took a slow approach to it. I progressed at it slow. At one point, and this point's probably related to life events, between working at S2O and just kayaking more, and then going through a divorce and being divorced, my kayaking kind of accelerated after those two events. And then it just became even more of my lifestyle than it was before. And so I was
kind of leaning into the positives in your life more, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
this was something that was giving you good output. Yeah.
And that was where I really started to pick up a lot of the real skill in it too. You know, when I was paddling 100 days a year, that nuance to technique and that nuance to feeling in a boat was so much better than when I was paddling 50 to 70 days a year, which is leaps and bounds above, you know, paddling 20 to 30 days a year.
Sure.
It's like the more time in the boat, just the more in tune with that boat and more just in tune with the water and the currents. And you're now, instead of being like, I'm going to run this rapid, I see this line, I'm going to put my boat there. Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm going to sink my left hip a half an inch here and catch this current, and it's going to spin me, and then I'm going to catch a wave and surf across that wave. And you know, the way you see whitewater when you're that in tuned with everything just changes. And then that changes the difficulty of what you're running.
Yeah. Your confidence goes way up that I know I can hit that line. 99.999%. Yeah.
And my pathway to this, I don't know that I'd recommend. I hit a point in kayaking where I would go kayaking every day that there was water and I could physically go kayaking. I went kayaking. A lot of days that meant I was running Class 5 rivers alone. To this day, I probably have the most laps of the Big T NAR section of anybody. Pre-flood, post-flood, like that river changed a bunch. Either pre-flood or post-flood, I probably have the most laps of anybody up there.
You know, it was close to you and it was super quality section and you would go do it no matter what. It
was a half an hour away. I would go up and walk laps. It's a half-mile section of like super continuous Class 5. Ends with a 12-footer that looks like it lands on rocks, but it's completely good to go.
Amazingly.
But I would go up there and I would run it alone. And I would run 4 or 5 laps alone. And then I would run, 10 laps of that 12-footer alone. And, I don't advocate for that. But that was what I saw is if I want to go kayaking today, if I'm going to go kayaking, I guess I'm going to go alone.
Yeah.
So I was kind of pushing some things that I look at now, and I'm like, yeah, that was probably a poor decision.
Yeah, but whether it's on that scale or not, I think a lot of kayakers can relate to that feeling of like, if there's an opportunity to do it, I need to do it. Otherwise, I'm missing out, right? Like, and
I was so dialed in the boat that I looked at that section of river, and it was like, I'm not going to fuck up. There's no feature in that river that is gonna grab you. Like there's no risk of like getting stuck in a hole and swimming out of a hole. There is pin potential. But I got to a point where I felt so dialed, I just kept doing it alone. And more than half my laps on that river were probably solo. But because I was willing to do that, it built those skills and pushed those skills more. And I got to the point where kind of my pride point with kayaking was I could show up to anywhere in the world and paddle with the best professional kayakers in the world and not be the like risk in the group.
Yeah.
I could keep up and I could do it safely.
Yeah.
And
something. Yeah.
And that was true. I mean, I was running really hard rivers, and sometimes things went awry. The last 12 years of kayaking for me, I have swam out of a kayak 3 times, and they got progressively scarier.
Yeah, as they often do. Right? Like that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. One of them was the story that I already told, swimming in North Fork of the Little Wind on that waterfall there. I swam the Gambler in Big Timber Creek. And
I saw a video of that one. I remember that.
Yeah. The thing about the Gambler is you set safety, and you set safety by live baiting somebody with a stick. If you get stuck in the hole, they reach the stick out to you and they pull you out. Well, they reached the stick out to me, and I grabbed it. I missed it, and I flipped over, and I rolled up. He reached the stick again. I grabbed the stick. I let go of my paddle, held the stick. He pulled. We didn't have tension on the live bait, so we pulled him into the river with me. Oof. And at that point, it's like, now we got 2 in the river, 1 stuck to a rope. I'm swimming. Oof. Pulled the skirt, and on the GoPro, I was underwater for 22 seconds.
God, that's a long time.
And I popped up, and I could hear my safety bickering about who was going to come help me. I got on the live bait and said, "Go get Nathan, help Nathan." Guy in the water is like, "Pull me out of the river, you fucking idiot." And so I knew I had to swim for myself, because I felt like if you swim around the corner from the gambler, your best case scenario going to break a leg.
Yeah.
And it was like swim out a couple hard strokes and caught a willow and got out. And,
all good.
And then the last swim we're building to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the last swim, it's probably a story that many people are like aware of in some form or another, but maybe don't really know the whole story. And so like, I think we're gonna air that now, so kind of people can tell the whole story, and maybe we can reflect on it afterwards. But tell us how kind of what led up to this trip, what led up to it.
I'm gonna do my best with this, because it's not a proud point.
No, it's understandable.
So in this process of kind of pushing my limits and pushing what I was as a kayaker, I took pride in being able to paddle that stuff. And I'd always seen videos and footage of Mexico. And I always wanted to go to Mexico and do a waterfall trip to Mexico. I had done a lot of trips to the Northwest, and the last trip to the Northwest that I did was in 2021, and I did 9 days out there. And my typical Pacific Northwest trip was tell Leif what day I'd be there. He'd pick me up at the airport. I'd get a truss lap to warm up, because I'd be coming off the couch, and then we would run the Little White.
Nice warm up.
Yeah. So that trip we did a truss lap, and then over 9 days over 8 days I did 12 Little White laps.
Wow.
Running everything every time.
Wow.
I didn't walk Spirit. I would run Spirit every lap.
Feeling super dialed.
Yeah. Felt super confident on a Little White. And to the point where, if Leif or Natalie couldn't go, I would guide people down the Little White, not being a local.
Well,
I've guided people down the Little White, which is kind of crazy to me to look at now.
Yeah.
But so I had this base of waterfalls. I mean, waterfalls weren't new. I knew I wanted to go to Mexico. I knew if I went to Mexico, it was to run waterfalls. And specifically, I wanted to go to Mexico to run Silencia. So I decided I'm going to do a Mexico trip. I blocked out 2 weeks to be able to go. I got Spencer Mock, wanted to go too, and Spencer came down with me. Spencer he couldn't stay as long as I could. So we flew down together, and then he was going to come back before me, and then I would come back later.
Okay.
We didn't really have a big plan short of we wanted to go to Mexico and run waterfalls.
Yeah. But you don't really need a big plan out there. I mean, no. Veracruz is pretty plug and play. It's a well-known area. You stay at the hostel there, Adventurec, and right, like everything's kind of set up for you. You have a few picks, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew so little about Mexico that I looked up Adventurec's website and like sent them an email to their like reach out to us contact. Mm-hmm. And then Emmett calls me. And he's like, "Hey, I'm who you actually need to talk to about this." And I'm like, I had known Emmett for years at that point, and
yeah,
he was living in the gorge in the spring, so I had just paddled with him a bunch in the spring, and
yeah,
so I had known Emmett, and then he's who I'm coordinating with. And it's like, yeah, we're going to come these days and I'm going to rent a boat and we're going to stay in this room and we're going to do the meal plan. And so it was low stress. It was like, all right, Emmett works here. Like Emmett's there. He'll tell me where to go.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten to the point where I would go to new places and I really enjoyed the unknown. It's the old Daniel De Laverne quote, you only get to run something blind once.
Right.
A lot of the time I would embrace that and be like, I can go into this river and not know really anything about it and have a great time. I was never the person like being like, oh, I'm going to go to this river. I'm going to go look up every GoPro video that's ever been put on the internet and figure out every line. I was just like, no, I just need to know where the two big rapids are, and otherwise I'll just figure it out.
You like the problem solving.
Yeah,
seeing something novel. Yeah.
So we didn't have a big plan going to Mexico. I knew I wanted to do Silencia. I didn't even know Silencia was on the Big Banana section. Like that's how little I knew. I was just like, I want to run that waterfall.
I've seen that. That looks cool. Let's go.
Yeah. And so Spencer and I go down, and we get there. We flew through Puebla instead of Mexico City because we found tickets that were cheaper to Puebla than Mexico City. So we flew into Puebla, get to Adventure Rec. Kind of the norm at Adventure Rec is you stay at Adventure Rec in either their hostel or their cabanas or camp there, and then they do breakfast and they do dinner there, kind of buffet style breakfast dinner. And what's kind of common is you go to dinner, and dinner's at the bar, and you kind of eat your dinner and drink and talk shit about what you're going to do the next day. And
sounds about right.
But really, you wake up in the morning for breakfast, and then you decide where you're actually going to go. So our first morning in Mexico, it's just Spencer and I, and I know a couple people who are there. Like I knew Adam Mayo, who's there, and I knew Andrew Morrissey. I had met Andrew a few times. I didn't know him very well.
It's funny. He was down there when I was in Mexico too.
Yeah. But then it's like, I don't really know anybody else there other than Emmett. And so it's our first morning there, and everybody kind of, you wake up in the morning, you're breaking up where you're going to go. And so naturally I gravitated to Adam because I knew him. And Adam and Andrew's now wife, Mary, and Dion Carroll were all going to go do Upper Halacingo that day. And I'm like, hey, Adam's the guy I know. It's our first day. Can we come with you guys? And Andrew said no. Andrew said, I don't know you guys that well. You can't come. So I'm like, well, shit, what are we going to do? Nobody else is even talking about going kayaking right now. I'm like, I came to Mexico to go kayaking. Like, let's go kayaking. And so Emmett, like, he gets Andrew Oxley, who's not feeling great. He's just getting over the Montezuma's revenge and probably a little bit of a hangover. And I don't think Andy was even going to paddle that day. But Emmett's like, Andy, you got to take Nathan and Spencer down Big Banana, and these three Brits are going to go with.
Nice.
So then, because the Brits were looking to paddle too, but they weren't going to be like, send Spencer and Nathan and the Brits down Big Banana to figure it out for their first time, and Emmett couldn't paddle that day. And so Andrew guides us down, and we hike in, and he's kind of like, I'm a little uncertain about Andy on the drive to the put-in because I'm not sure if he's like going to throw up kind of thing. Like, it's my first time meeting him, and he seems pretty hungover. And,
it's my guy going to pass out midway.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is my guide right now. So we hike in, we get to the river, we kind of get a little misadventure on the hiking because Andy's like, I don't want to hike, I just want to paddle. So we get to the little creek going into Big Banana. He's like, we can paddle the creek. And we're like, all right, man, we'll paddle the creek. And we paddle the creek for 100 yards, and Andy's like, this was a terrible idea. Let's get out and hike the rest of the way.
I had this misadventure like before too, yeah.
Yeah. And so we get to the river, and we start paddling, and like I don't really know much about Big Banana other than you put in at the waterfall and Silencia's in there. So we pull out and we start paddling, and we run the little class 3 stuff at the top, and Spencer gets stuck in a hole. And he's like side surfing this thing for long enough that like 3 or 4 of us go by, and then he surfs his way out of it and catches an eddy, and we all catch an eddy, and Andy's like, okay, around the corner. And Andy's he's Quebec. So in this Canadian accent, he's like, okay, around the corner, Mexican 20. I'm like, okay, so everybody over exaggerates. So what is this thing, like 12, 15 feet? Yeah, it's like 25, 30. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be 20. And peel out, come out. It's 25, 30. Like, it's called Mexican 20, but it's taller than 20.
Yeah, that's legit.
And run it. This kid, Sam from England, he swims. And his boat ends up river left. And I'm the only person in the group who has a tether. Oh, so man. I have to paddle over to where his boat is stuck, tether it, haul it back, get it over there, pull it out. Sam pulls this thing out, and he starts emptying it one sponge at a time. So we sat there for 20 minutes while he emptied his boat one sponge at a time. And here we are, like, in this group, and Emmett had told Andy that before we left that I was solid. He's like, don't worry about Nathan at all. Worry about those guys. He's like, I don't really know Spencer. If he came with Nathan, he's probably fine. Don't worry about Nathan at all. Keep an eye on the Brits. And so this kid is up there taking one sponge at a time. And at this point, we're like 15 minutes into kayaking together, and Andrew and I are on like nonverbal communication already. Like getting super upset, being like, will you just empty your fucking boat so we can go kayaking? And so then it's like he gets his boat emptied. We get back in, and then he's like, okay, this pool ends in Mordor. And so we all paddle Mordor. All of us flip over and roll up, except for Sam, the kid who had just swam Mexican 20. And Sam just greases it, like hair dry, no problem.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, oh, that's really hard to do in Mordor.
Yeah, that's a cool drop, a cool gorge.
It's super unique. And you run Mexican 20, the only way out is to run Mordor. And, it's a big drop for as non-consequential as it is. Then we come around the corner and we're at Silencia. And it's like, okay, we're at Silencia, and I'm like, I want to look at it. Like, I came to Mexico to run this waterfall. Like, I'm going to look at it. So Andy and I go down and start scouting it. And he's like, yeah, you can portage around the right, and you go through this field or something, and you come around the corner, and then there's a spot where you can throw and go that's only like 15 feet tall. Otherwise, you throw and go off the lip of Silencia, which is like a 50-foot jump. Yeah,
it's scary.
And so we scout it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to run it today. And so we decide that we're going to throw my boat. I'm going to jump after it, get back in. Andy's going to run it, and then we'll meet everybody around the corner. We throw my boat. It gets stuck like high river right in a little bit of a cave. I jump, way bigger jump than I was expecting. And I jumped with my paddle and then just let my paddle go right before I hit the water. Oh. So with the thought of you resurface, you grab your paddle again. Mm-hmm. Well, I missed the paddle, and it ends up like up against the wall, stuck in an eddy on the other side. And I go down around the corner, and I'm just like swimming in the pool down there, waiting for my kayak to come down. And eventually the kayak comes down, but this has all taken too long, to the point where Andy's decided to just go grab his boat and throw and go to come help me. And so I'm like getting my boat, and I paddle up around the corner as he's jumping. And I'm like, damn, blew that for him. So then we're like sitting in the pool waiting for everybody else, and they never show up. We can't find them. Well, they couldn't find where to go, so they all end up back at the lip of Silencia and doing this big throw and go. And
I don't remember being that difficult to find.
Yeah, I did that portage several times after this, and it wasn't difficult to find, but they got lost. But they go, and Spencer was always a cliff diver out at Halligan and Siemens Reservoirs, so he just like throws his boat and jumps and hoots and has a blast and gets back in.
Nice.
And these Brits are just like kind of freezing, not sure what to do. And eventually they all come down, and one of them has bonked. Like, this has been too much. He bonked.
Oh.
And Oxley's like, can't bonk yet. We just started.
Right.
And I'm like, trying to like give the kid a pep talk and being like, you're good. We're going to go. We're going to keep going. But so we started off pretty rough paddling with the Brits that day. But we ended up paddling down and had a good day. And Sam only swam once that day. Oxley actually swam that day too in Pesma. He didn't get far enough left, so he just like bailed on his paddle and missed his hand roll and swam rather than holding it out. So that night back at Adventure Act, I learned about the tequila suicide, which is when you swim, you snort salt, take a shot of tequila, and then squeeze a lime in your eye.
Yeah, sounds like a great practice.
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, I didn't do one. But so first day we did Big Banana. The other crew that went to Upper Jaw, they had a great day. Came back, had fun. The next day we went and we did Lower Halasingo. And Lower Jaw has we split into two groups. Spencer, me, and the Brits walked around the top 4 drops, and then Emmett, Sophie, and Andrew Oxley all went up and ran the top drops. And the top drops are like, another Mexican 20, that's a 30-footer. And then like a 20-footer, and then Twisted Pleasure, which is 60, 65 feet.
Yeah.
And then Dirty Sanchez, which is like a 50-footer.
Yeah. Big.
I didn't go for those drops, so I didn't really know anything about them. So we walked around those, and then we just hung out and waited for them to come down. It ended up Sophie threw her paddle on Twisted, and the paddle just disappeared.
Oh, man.
So it took them a long time to get down because they had lost Sophie's paddle and didn't have a breakdown with them, because I was the only one with a breakdown.
Oh, bummer.
I'm the only guy on this trip who had a tether and a breakdown, it seemed.
Well, Class 5 creek, and I need all that stuff.
So we started early on that the price to use Nathan's breakdown was 3 beers at the bar.
That's way too cheap.
Yeah. But we do Lower Jaw and Lower Halasingo. It starts with like a 12-footer and then another little 10-footer, and then it's just like 5-footers all the way down to the gorge above Dungeon. And we get to Dungeon, and we're scouting Dungeon. It's kind of ominous and dark and super cool looking, and it has similarities to both this 35-footer and the North Fork Little Wind and Spirit, I think. But we're looking at it. Well, when we got there, the main scout is on river left.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer and Andy scouted it from the right because Spencer didn't want to scout it from the left because he might portage it. And that was one of the drops that was really on his list going down there that he wanted to run. So he scouted it from the right. I don't know if he had a great view of it or not. But the plan was Andy and Spencer would go first. Emmett and I would go second, and everybody else was going to walk it. So they go. Spencer, I had the exact same line as him. We both basically had the same line, but he resurfaced on the right in the pocket, getting beat down between the waterfall and the wall.
Oh.
And he couldn't get out of it, so he swims.
Oh, shit.
So he's swimming in Dungeon. And Dungeon is this 35-footer that falls into this room, which is why it's called Dungeon. And it has this cave that's kind of undercut and super cool if you're in your kayak. Not cool if you're swimming.
For sure.
So they're down there, Spencer swimming, and the boat never flushes.
Oh, man.
And we're like up on top at the scout watching this. And Emmett looks at me, he's like, "You ready? We got to go." And I'm like, well, now I don't know that I want to run it, but yep, let's get on it. It's like, we kind of half jog back up to our boats, get to the boats, and I'm like, okay, we're at the boats. Take a breath, take it slow, run it like we'd normally run it. Don't put ourselves in the same position. We both run it, end up in the pool at the bottom. Spencer and Andy are gone. It ended up they were so unstable in the bottom there, and the boat wasn't coming out, that Andrew towed Spencer out of that on the back of his boat.
Oh man!
And the exit of it's this like 12-footer.
Yeah.
So Andrew like tows Spencer out of this and gets him out. So Emmett and I are down there, and we're trying to get to the boat, and we can't get to the boat, so we had to leave the boat.
Oh man!
And
it turned into an epic.
Yeah, 3 days later, a crew went in and got the boat back. So dungeon's basically the end. Like you finish dungeon, you come through this long flat stretch, and then there's another drop called Jacuzzi or something. And we get to that drop, and Emmett and I are the last ones there, and Sophie, the 3 Brits, and Spencer are all there scouting it. And Emmett gets out of his boat, and he looks at the 3 Brits and Spencer, and he says, well, Spencer doesn't have a kayak, so he's not really in this, but he looks at the Brits, he says, you're walking. Nathan, you can scout it and decide what you want to do. And then he's like, I'm walking. And or no, I think he ran it. I think Emmett and I both ended up running it.
Yeah.
But that drop has been like the scene of several drownings and resuscitations in there.
Yeah, when I think it was the day I got into Mexico, there was a guy who he was almost died there. He ended up going into the hospital. They just barely got him out, and he flew home the next day. Yeah.
So we finish Lower Halacingo, and then I think it was day 3. We finally day 3 we were finally going to do roadside, which roadside Alsa Seca is usually where people start when they go to Mexico. And we're like, we've done Big Banana, we've done Lower Jaw. Okay, now we'll do roadside. And Adam was going to join us for that one, and Adam and Mary were going to join us and guide us down it. But Adam couldn't go until later because he's a lawyer, and so he had work in the morning. So he's like doing law work at Adventurac, and he's going to meet us. So we decided we were going to go check out Side Chick that morning. And Side Chick is a drop that wasn't on my radar. And it's a 45-footer, kind of park and huck. So we go and we get there, and that one we get to, and we scout it, and it ends up that me, Dion, and Luke Pomeroy are the only ones who actually want to run it. And everybody else just kind of hangs out and takes video and photos of us running it. And so we run it and get out, and then we go up to roadside, run roadside. So Mexico's like starting off great for me.
Yeah. Like all like super quality runs, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I think that was about the day that Spencer got sick. So Spencer got sick and had to take a day off. And the day off that he took, I went and did Big Banana again with just Andy Oxley and Antonio Reynoso, who's one of the Reynosos are the family who owned Adventurac.
Okay.
So we went and we did like a car to car in under 2 hour Big Banana lap.
Nice.
And so we bombed it, and it was like, yeah, that's my sweet spot is that kind of paddling.
Speaking of flow state, right?
Yeah.
Like that puts you there.
And so we did that, and then we ended up going down to the Oro.
Cool.
We had a plan to go to the Oro. Spencer, me, and the 3 Brits were going to go to the Oro. At this point, Adam had gone down separate from me. I knew Adam was going to Mexico, and we had talked. Our dates didn't quite line up, but he was driving his own car down. So we had coordinated, we'll meet up in Mexico. We'll paddle while we're there. When I go home, I'm going to leave my paddling gear with you, and I'm going to fly home light, and he was going to drive my gear home.
That's cool.
So his plan was his girlfriend, Sally, who, a couple days later would end up being his fiance. He met her in Veracruz, and they did a night in Veracruz, and then the next day we were going to meet them in Costa de Oro and do the Oro with them. Well, we were a little late, and then we just had a hard time finding each other. And at this point, I'm getting kind of grumpy because I'm like, I went to Mexico to paddle every day, and I'm about to lose my paddling day because we were late. And now we can't find Adam, and we eventually are like, well, fuck it, let's just go find this river and go kayaking. As we drive out of town, Adam's next to the highway, so we pick Adam up, and he's like, oh, we don't have to do the whole run. We can just hike in this creek, and it will put us right at the 30-footers, which is like the thing to do on the Oro.
Right.
And we're like, all right, it's going to be dark in an hour, so that's probably the move. And so we go, and we're going up. And I remember having this disagreement with Spencer and the Brits. And they're like, oh, we can just paddle tomorrow. And I'm like, no. Adam says we can go kayaking tonight. I'm going kayaking tonight. So we finally find this place. We hike in, and we get to we came in right at the first 30-footer, and we all run the 30-footer. Sam swims it again.
Oh no!
Sam swam like every day down there.
Sketchy.
And he swims it, and he's like, "Oh, the tunnel on my skirt, or the seam between the tunnel and my skirt blew, and so all this water was coming in my boat." And so we're doing the same thing again, where Sam's there like sponging his boat out instead of picking it up and dumping it. And it's like, gonna be dark soon, and now he's like, "Oh, my skirt's broken, I can't go." And I'm like, "Well, you have no choice but to run the next one." It's like, just paddle up, tuck, roll up, paddle away. Like, it's no big deal. Oh, no, I can't do that. Well, we go and we run it, and he swims again.
Oh, brutal.
Like, he didn't even try to roll. He was just like, yep, lost cause, I'm swimming. And that one, he's over there sponging his boat again, and I pop my skirt, and I get out, and I go over, and I pat him on the head, and pick his boat up, and dump it out over my head, set it back down, and pat his head again, and get in my kayak, and I'm like, it's dark. Let's go.
Let's get out of here. And, he needed a mother that forced him to learn how to roll before he started kayaking.
So you run that second 30-footer, and there's like class 2 to the takeout, but you got to watch for vines. And you get to the bottom, and you like end in the ocean, and then we're staying at a place right off the ocean. So we're like in the dark paddling out into the ocean and paddling up the coast a quarter mile to where we're staying. And
wow.
That was another interesting experience in Mexico. Was of our group of 5 in the van, it was the driver from Adventure Ec and then the 5 of us. I speak the best Spanish in the group, which is not saying much. So we had a long, hard negotiation because nobody could understand what anybody was saying on how to get 3 rooms and how much it was going to cost at the hotel that night.
Quanto cuesta?
Yeah. And Adam ended up helping out at some point, like figuring it out with us. And so we get a place and we stay. And so the next day, Spencer, the Brits, we all go. We do the full Oro run. Adam and Sally were going to do a trip around Chiapas, down to Guatemala. So I wasn't supposed to see Adam again on this trip. He wasn't supposed to get back to Adventure Ec until after I left. So we go. We run the Oro, have a good day. That day was smooth sailing whole way through. Get back. Spencer only had like 1 or 2 more days. I think he had 2 more. I think we did Big Banana one more time. And then his last day in country, this is during COVID, so we would have to get a COVID test before we could fly home. So our plan was Spencer was going to wake up early, go into town, get his COVID test, come back, and then we were going to go do roadside in the afternoon. And it ended up being me, Spencer, and the Brits again. And we get there, and the Brits had done it 2 or 3 times by this point. Spencer and I had done it once. So I'm leading us down the river because I remember it more or less. I remembered it well enough that we didn't have to get out of our boats until S-turn. That day, just kind of the wear of the trip and group dynamics, none of us ran S-turn. I knew if I ran it, other people would run it. I didn't want to deal with it at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny one. Take a stroke and hold on.
Yeah, and Sam had not run it clean at that point. Like he had run it. I think they had done it 3 times because I think he had run S-turn 3 times, and every time he had spun out and run it backwards.
Oh God.
So I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And so we walked S-turn. We get back in, and I didn't recognize the next drop. And I'm like, okay, I don't recognize this one. I can't see it well enough. This is the first one. We need to scout. And Sam paddles over the side, pops a skirt. He's like, I'm on it. I'll scout it. And he gets up, he scouts it, and he looks back at me. He says, okay, the line is to the right, drive right. So I'm like, okay. I peel out. I go right. I drive right. I air out, and I landed on the shore from 10 feet.
Oh.
And felt a pop in my back.
Oh.
And did a whole lot of cussing.
I'll bet.
The line was left to center. Very obvious line left to center.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like screaming back up left to center, and Spencer comes down next, and I'm like, yeah, I landed on the shore, and I felt a pop. It's like I think I'm okay, but I'm not sure. Like that's the kind of thing you break your back doing.
Sure.
So Spencer and I decide I need to hike out. So we go over and pop skirts, and I hike up, and Spencer carries my boat up, and the whole time I'm just screaming at him. And I got halfway up the hill, and it finally occurred to me just how much I'm laying into Spencer on this. And I'm like, Spencer, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the situation. Because I was pretty hard on Spencer that whole trip. Just because I was on this program of I'm here to go kayaking. Mm-hmm. And so let's get the boat strapped down. Let's get in the car. Let's go kayak as soon as we can. And so I don't think I was the best paddling partner on this trip. But we hike out, and later that night back at Adventure Rack, one of the other Brits is like, well, you can't be mad at Sam. He doesn't know how to scout.
Well, no shit.
And I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? I'm like, this guy just volunteered to get out and scout a rapid and scouted it and told me where to go, and you're telling me he doesn't know how to scout. And so I tell this story because one of my takeaways from my whole trip to Mexico is be careful on who you trust. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a joke within kayaking of the club boater. And these guys from Britain, they were very much that club boater mentality, and one of them wasn't as much as the others, and he was a little more solid. But 2 out of 3 were very much kind of your stereotypical club boater. And every trip we did, Sam swam.
Yeah,
and
that's not a good sign.
Yeah,
it's not how you should be paddling.
It was tough. So I'm pretty down on Sam at this point. And Spencer's like working in occupational therapy. So he's like knows what to do with back injuries.
It's handy, man.
And so we get back, and first thing I do is have a shot of tequila, take the pain away.
Squirt something in your eye, and
yeah. But so this is Spencer's last day in country, and I just hurt my back, and it's like, he's like, okay, you need to do these barrel rolls. You need to protect your back. You need to take tomorrow off. And it's like, I haven't taken a day off in Mexico. Like, white people go to Mexico, they get sick, they take a day off. I went to Mexico the day I got sick. We did 7 Sisters because it was short. And I didn't shit my pants, but I didn't feel great. I was close.
It's like everyone gets sick in Mexico at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's telling. Like the mentality that you had at that point was just like, if I'm missing time in my boat, I'm losing, right? Like that's the mentality. Yeah.
So Spencer flies home the next day, and I took the next day off, and that was when Kaylin Friedrichsen and Ryan Carroll and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. These kids from DC who are just hard charging dudes. Like they came for the tomatas. I came for Silencia, never ran it. They came for the tomatas.
To do freestyle tricks off it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know that at the time.
I've seen the photos or the videos.
Yeah, I saw the video and I saw it in person. So I end up doing Big Banana with those guys.
Oh.
I took a day off and then I did Big Banana with them. And it was the 3 kids from DC and Eon Russell, I think is his name. Sorry if I butchered your name. You'll probably never see this because you're up searching some river for glaciers in Alaska anyway. But it's them and me, and we run Big Banana, and Oxley might have been with us that day too, and just another great day. And that was one of those points of, that's what I wanted out of kayaking was like, those guys were the hard charging up and coming kids, and I'm running Big Banana with them, and I'm telling Kalen the line at one of the drops, and I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool that I can still do that, and because he's so much better at kayaking than I am.
That guy's amazing. Yeah.
And but we did Big Banana, and then the next day we went back to Lower Helisingo, and they talked to me into going to the top drops.
Oh.
And Emmett had kind of told me, don't fuck with Dirty Sanchez. He's like, if you go, run the top ones, don't do dirty. It's like if you get to Twisted and don't want to do it, you can walk away from it.
Okay.
So I get up there, and it's the same thing as like 20. It's 2 20-footers and then Twisted, and you get there, and the first 20-footer is a 30-footer, and the second 20-footer is like a 25-footer.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've like run the first one, and I decided I'm gonna do the Washington Tuck on Twisted.
Nice.
I've never done the Washington Tuck before.
Oh, that's quite a place to practice it.
So the 20-footer ride above Twisted is where I practiced, and so I practiced the Washington Tuck on that one. Hit it. We get down. We go and we scout it, and it looked pretty good. Isaac Martinez is with us, who's another up-and-coming charging kid from Mexico who's really taken off in paddling and really talented. So we get there and we're scouting it, and we break into 3 pods of 2. And the first group was Ryan and Anand. And they didn't have great lines, but they didn't have bad lines. They hit it a little differently than how I saw it and a little off from where I saw it, and it made me question my line. But then Eon and I went second, and I remember walking back up, and I'm still like, no, I'm portaging this thing. I'm going to hike back out of here. And then I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, man, that's a shitty portage. I guess I'll just run it. I was like, I can run it. I know I can run it.
Yeah.
It's the biggest drop I've ever run.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw it from a distance, and it looks pretty intimidating.
And it's not trivial. Like, it has an entrance. You need to be in a place.
It's not like a plop and drop into a big pool. Yeah.
So Eon went next. He boofed it, and I didn't know this because I couldn't see it. But he boofed it. I went. I nailed that line. I was really happy with that line. I don't think I could have run it better.
Nice.
So then I'm just like stoked. I'm in the pool at the bottom, watching up. I think Isak went next. He had a good line. And I'm watching the lip, and I see Kalen come into this sideways. And I'm like, oh, shit, he fucked up. And then I see him turn around and load up his hip. And he does a switch freewheel off of it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, holy shit. Like,
wow.
I didn't think you could have a better line than what I just had, but he just did it.
That is so burly.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so we kind of hit that, and that was kind of the high point for me.
Yeah.
The next day after that, we did Big Banana again, and then again I did Big Banana 4 or 5 times while I was there.
Such a classic. You can't get tired of that one.
And I went down there for Silencia, didn't run it.
You never ran it.
Didn't run it. Didn't feel good about it.
I never did either. It looked super intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah, I just every time I get there, I'd look at it with the intent of running it, and I'd just be like, there just doesn't feel right. So I didn't do it. So we get back from Big Banana day after we did Lower Jaw, and I ran Twisted, which is probably one of the high points of kayaking for me. And we get back to Adventure Rec, and Adam's there. And I didn't know I was going to see Adam again. Like, we had talked, and I was like, I'm going to leave my stuff here, and you're going to load it in your truck and bring it home for me. And so Adam's there in his back. And at dinner that night, everybody's talking about where we're going to go the next day. And the DC boys are Tomato or bust. And that was, Kalen going there and switch Freewheel and Tomato 1.
Which is amazing. 80 foot waterfall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's this group from Norway. I think they were Norway. This group is another just like world-class paddlers that I had never heard of, and just following them since. Like, they're incredible kayakers. And we had done Big Banana with them the day before, and Lower Halasingo was next on their list. And so the DC boys were going Tomatas, the other guys were going Lower Halasingo, and I kind of had my fill on Lower Halasingo. I wasn't going to do Twisted again. I didn't really want to run Dungeon again, and so I didn't want to go do 5-footers. And so Upper Halasingo was the last river that I hadn't really done. Adam wasn't into the Tomatas or Lower Jaw program either, so we decided that Adam and I were going to go do Upper Halasingo. Mm-hmm. The next morning at breakfast, we're talking about it, and Emmett is flipping back and forth. He's like, I should go do Upper Jaw with you guys. No, I should go show these guys down Lower Jaw. And I told him, you should go do Lower Jaw with those guys. It's like, Adam just did Upper Halasingo last week. You should go guide these guys down Lower Halasingo. Mm-hmm. It's like, we'll be good. And so he texted me the beta for Upper Jaw. I didn't read it.
Back to your kind of like style of just where are the big ones? And
Adam had just done it. Adam had known it. What I knew about the run was there were some big heinous portages, and I had been told that river was my style.
Okay.
That it's a sufferfest with 2 or 3 bigger drops and a lot of jungle fuck portaging is how they would put it.
Yeah.
And so I was excited about that. I'm like, this isn't the hardest river I've done. There's only 2 or 3 name drops, and then there's mandatory portages, and Adam just did it, and he knows it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't read the beta. So we drove up. We got to the put-in, got our gear on. Adam didn't have a skirt. And there's no cell service up there. So we drove halfway back. We finally called. We got a hold of Sophie, and we're like, has anybody not left? Like, can they meet us in town? Everybody had left. So we drove all the way back to Adventure Rec. And Adam runs to his truck, grabs his skirt. I ran back to the Palapa and refilled my water bottle. And the Brits were taking the day off. So, like, we got there, and I refilled my water bottle, and Pinky, one of the Brits, is like, oh, that was the world's fastest Upper Jaw lap. And I was like, yeah, we forgot a skirt. We're on our way now. We're going now. And when we came back down, I changed. I got back in my street clothes. Adam didn't. Adam felt really bad that he forgot a skirt and that he jangled. And I kept telling him, don't worry about it. It's like, we got time. Don't worry about it. I'm changing. Like, I'm going to be comfortable. Yeah. We got back to the put-in. Before we got there, he had put his dry top on and skirt in the van. And I'm still wearing, jeans and a t-shirt.
Okay.
So we get there, and I'm getting my gear on, and he's unloading the boats, and so he's waiting for me. And we got to the point. I remember sitting at the river, getting ready to slide in, and looking at Adam and saying, hey, it's 12:30. This run should take us 4 to 5 hours. We got plenty of time. Let's just go have fun. And snapping my skirt, getting in. He led because he knew it. And Upper Jaw, I don't know how far it is, a quarter mile to the first portage. And it's shallow. Manky. My takeaway of it was it wasn't as much water in it as I thought, and it was kind of banging your way down it. And we would come up to a horizon. I'd watch where Adam would enter it, and then I would follow him. As I'd hit the lip, I'd look down, see where he was, and he was kind of running, a drop ahead of me. Mm-hmm. It would be a lot of, he would kind of be entering as I would exit and following him through.
Okay.
And just following him down. At one point I had turned my GoPro on for one drop, and I remember coming out of that drop kind of at the end and had that on video and turning the camera off. And we got to a big eddy. Adam entered. It was a little 4-footer on the left. And then the river went around to the right. And then it entered kind of a slide. And so I followed him down this 4-footer to the left. He was out of sight at that point. Came around to the right, entered a slide, noticed horizon line, and just felt something's wrong. I'm looking down at trees. I remember hitting the lip of that drop and looking down, and the whole thing landed on a rock dome. And I thought, that's it. My memory blacks out at that point. My memory kicks back in about 12 minutes later. And I was holding onto a rock next to the shore, looking at Adam's body. That portage is blind corner into a slide that banked left, banked right, banked left, off the lip, fell 65 to 70 feet onto a rock dome that then fell another 10 to 15 feet to the pool. Wow. And then there was a rock fence at the exit of that pool, and Adam's body got stuck in that rock fence. But I regained awareness. And I say I regained awareness because I blacked out, but I've talked to Scott McCorvey about this, and he's like, it's amnesia. He's like, you didn't go unconscious or you'd be dead.
Oh, really?
It's like it's amnesia. It's your body protecting you from that. So I have that gap in my memory, and I've had multiple friends who have been in big accidents that have. I have one friend who was in a bad car accident, and in his brain he lost 2 months.
Wow, 2 months.
He would wake up every morning in the hospital and find out his girlfriend was dead again every day for 2 months.
That's so awful.
And I lost 12 minutes. I looked at my watch, and it was 1 o'clock.
Wow.
So when I came to, I'm sitting in this pool. I'm looking through my pocket, looking for an inReach or a cell phone that I know I don't have because I don't know what else to do.
Wow.
I don't know where I am. All I know is something happened, and I'm radiating from my shoulders to my toes. So then it starts to piece back. And it's like, we're on Upper Halasingo. That must be the portage. Adam's dead. I am fucked up. It's cold. If I don't get out of this river, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And shock and adrenaline, I crawled out of the river.
Wow.
I crawled up, sat down on a rock.
Wow.
And thought, well, I'm alive. I've obviously broken my back. We're 15 minutes into a 5-hour run. Nobody's going to find me until tomorrow. And I'm going to be here.
Wow.
And so I sat there. That morning, I hadn't charged the batteries in my GoPro. And I was like, there's 3 rapids I want to get video of. I have a spare battery. Both my batteries are at 50%. If one dies, then I'll just swap them. Well, the batteries were in my dry bag that were in my boat that were gone. And that's why I felt compelled to write the article that I wrote for American Whitewater is if you carry an inReach, put that in your pocket. Because if shit happens and you black out and your boat's gone and your back's broken, it doesn't do you any good anyway.
Yep.
If I'd have had an inReach and it had been in my pocket, it probably would have saved me 8 hours on my rescue. So I'm out of the water. I lost a shoe. When I swam, I lost one of my shoes. I sat there for what felt like 20 minutes, so it was probably, 3. And the pain got pretty bad.
Whew.
So I laid down.
Wow.
Once I laid down, the extent of my mobility was I could move my hands and my arms. I could lift my head up, and where I ended up, I couldn't see Adam. But if I picked my head up, I could see him. So I would, we're at 1 o'clock right now. It gets dark about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So up until it got dark, I would sit up and look over and make sure Adam was still there. It was this weird thing of laying out there and didn't feel alone. Having him be there, it felt like he was there with me still. Even though I knew. I would record videos, messages on my GoPro. Basically, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I think happened. A lot of we don't do this stuff because we want to push to that limit. There's a lot of philosophical there when you're sitting there waiting for somebody to come save you, and you can sit there and think, and you're like, what a stupid fucking sport. What a stupid hobby. What a stupid thing to put myself in this situation. This terrible decision, is my kid gonna lose her dad? I never questioned that at the start. When I regained my awareness and realized where I was and had an idea what happened, I'm gonna go home and be a dad. I'm gonna go home and be there for my kid. It's like I don't know what my life is gonna look like, but I am going home to that kid. So I recorded a lot of messages to her. At some point, I think it was around 2 or 2:30, and a lot of this was it took me a long time to be able to watch any of this, but I did end up watching the videos. Over a year later, I finally watched them. It was 2 or 2:30. I recorded a video where I was starting to panic a little because I had coughed up some blood. And it was like I'm freezing my ass off. I just coughed up some blood. I think I got something internal going on. That's terrifying. I sat here this last couple hours thinking I'm going home, and now I'm not really sure. In the end, I didn't cough up blood. I think I gashed my chin really bad. And I think I just got some blood on my hand from my chin. But there was nothing to do out there. I'd have times where I was like, okay, I'm still in the midst of this drop, so I'm just wet. And I could see a spot that looked dry. And I was like, oh, if I could just crawl over there, I could be dry and I'd warm up. Couldn't move. I had times in the afternoon where I thought, I have to crawl out of here. Like, I know there's farmhouses up above me. Like, I need to crawl and get myself out of here because I don't know when they're going to find me. Couldn't move. I could wiggle my toes.
Yeah.
But beyond that, my legs were not moving. GoPro died about 4:30 because I would just keep recording updates, and the updates were the same every time. This was stupid. I fucked up. Bailey, I'm coming home. I'm cold.
What did time feel like at that point? Did it feel like it was passing differently? I
didn't look at my watch a lot, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I don't have a lot of recollection of the actual time, but it's slow. Shock is crazy, because there's no doubt that I was in shock. Yeah. I would have these self-dialogues of, should I try to take a nap so time goes faster, or should I stay awake? I was like, I might have something internal that you don't want to go to sleep because you might not wake up. So I'd meditate. I would sit there and think about just breathing and think about the air coming in my nose and the air going into my lungs, and if I'd take too big of a breath, how bad that hurt. But I think I ended up kind of in a trance that was a mix of shock and meditation, and would sit there and just think I was meditating, but I was probably just in shock. And then it got dark. When it got dark, it got cold. Most days in Mexico, it's warm, but you're in the jungle, so I would wear like the thinnest union suit you can get, and then just board shorts, a splash top. Didn't wear a dry top, splash top, and then my skirt. So I'd pull my skirt down to my knees as far as I could get it to kind of keep the spray off of my thighs coming up, and then I would tuck my hands and my arms as much as I could between my life jacket and my chest, just to get that body heat back. When it got dark, I started to question if I was going to turn hypothermic. Yeah, it's like a serious concern. Because this whole time I'm thinking Emmett's going to come find me tomorrow at 7 or 8 o'clock because we're going to be missing. Right. And then at some point, I imagine I was in and out of consciousness, but at some point I remember seeing a light and hearing a yell. And so I yelled back, and we yelled back and forth at each other, and I could tell it was Emmett. I could recognize his voice. I looked at my watch. It was 9 o'clock. So we missed our shuttle. And we had still not met our shuttle way after dark. And then when we still hadn't come back after everybody had finished dinner, Emmett basically decided there's something wrong. He said he went to the takeout first and walked around the takeout and was yelling up and down the river thinking maybe we missed the takeout. And then he came up, and this was the only place he was going to look that night. Really? Because if we were past that, we're past this portage that's supposed to take an hour to an hour and a half. So he came and checked that spot, and it just happened to be where we were. So I see a light at 9 o'clock, and then the light goes away. And I'm like, he knows I'm here. He's going to get help. 20 minutes later, there were two lights. They're in a little bit different spot. And we're yelling at each other again. And we're yelling back and forth, and we just keep yelling at each other. And I'm like, can they hear me? Do they know I'm here? I'm in so much pain that all I can yell is just, ah. I would try to say help, but it hurt too bad. So I'm really just going, ah, over and over. And they left. And that was the lowest point for me, is they left. And at that point, I was like, they don't know I'm here. They can't hear me. They don't know I'm here. I'm not going to survive the night. So that was the low point. And I'm watching my watch this whole time. So I saw him at 9. The 2 lights were 9:20. Then they leave. At 9:40, a lot of lights showed up. And at that point, I was like, okay, I think they know I'm here. But we're still yelling back and forth. Eventually, I heard Emmett say, we're coming. And when I heard Emmett yell, we're coming, I just took a big exhale. I was like, they do know I'm here, and they're coming. After he found me the first time, he went back to cell service, called Adventure Rec, talked to Sophie, basically said, go get anybody who hasn't been drinking, that has any first aid experience, any rope experience, and they brought the entire Adventure Rec staff for this rescue. And I think they actually used Dion's rope. Dion had brought his own rope down. And that when we did side check, when you run side check, you run the drop and you go around the corner and then you rope everything back up because there's this super steep embankment. And we had used Dion's like personal climbing rope for that. And I'm pretty sure they were wrapping in on Dion's rope to come rescue me.
Wow.
And but it took them a long time to set those rope systems up and to wrap in. I mean, it's dark. It's almost 10 o'clock and is 10 o'clock at night and dark and in the jungle. And, who really knows what's in there? At one point, I kept watching them. Like, I could see the lights, and I'm watching the lights. And I kept seeing one light kind of go off to the side. And I would see him come off to the side, and I'd see the light scanning the base of the waterfall. And I would try to yell which direction to go to find me. And he couldn't hear me.
Sure.
But he did that 2 or 3 times. And then he finally, like, put a light on me and hit me with that light. And so I waved my arms at him, and he flashes the light at me. And so then I'm like, okay, not only do they know I'm here, they know where I am. It turned out after that was Emmett. And he said when he finally hit me with that light, he saw me moving my arms, that was a huge step in that rescue. He said a part of what took him a long time too was they had a pre-meeting before they started coming down. And it was like, we've heard one voice. Like, we don't know what we're finding. We don't know what condition that either of them are in, but we know that we've heard one voice. So be ready. And at 11 o'clock, Dion comes walking up to me. They finally got to the bottom, and Dion's the first guy to me. And everybody who would come down, they would stop just short of me, and their headlamps would look up over the top of me. And they were looking at Adam. So Dion stops, and he's looking over the top of me. And I'm like, Dion, is Adam still with me? He's like, yeah, he's still there. I'm like, okay. What do we do? So Dion was, he had done a woofer training. The second guy down was Cody Anderson. He was an expired EMT. So that was my medical team.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Emmett got down there. The whole trip I was pretty down on Sam. from Britain and was pretty frustrated with him. Emmett told me afterwards that all of the rope work and all of that coordination was him.
Oh, wow.
He was a trad climber, British trad climber, which if you know anything about climbing, like British trad climbers are like the sketchiest fucking dudes out there. But they're good at what they do. So, Sam had this British trad background and he did all the rope systems and everything of that rescue.
Yeah. Amazing.
So we had people with me, got me some water, fed me a Cliff Bar. They would alternate. Dion and Cody would alternate. One would hold my neck, and I'd be like, guys, this is kind of overkill. Now I've been here for 10 hours. Like, C-spine's good. It's that lower stuff that's fucked up.
You could tell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But they would alternate. One would hold my neck and hold my C-spine steady, while the other one would be macheting a trail through the jungle to try to get me out of there. At midnight, a paramedic showed up, and that was the only official rescue we had, was this paramedic, and he had a supervisor at some point. And I don't remember if the supervisor actually came to the bottom or not, or just my friend Manny was the paramedic. This dude gets down midnight. These guys have been with me for an hour and are kind of taking care of me. And he comes down, and bit of a language barrier. The little bit of Spanish that I knew, I didn't know anymore when I was in shock.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I knew sí and no. And so this paramedic gets down and he starts doing an assessment, and he feels up my leg, feels up my other leg, feels my left arm, and he's on my left side. He reaches over to my right arm and he sticks his elbow right in my bladder. And I just scream in pain. Wow. Right hand? Nah. No, it's here. Where I told you. It's I already told you. Here. So he leaned right into my bladder and my pelvis, and it turned out that's where everything was super fucked up.
Wow.
So he would sit next to me while everybody's trying to set up rope systems and trails and how we're going to get out of here and making plans, and he would just sit at me and yell "no dormir" at me anytime I'd close my eyes.
Really?
And I can't sleep. I'm in too much pain. But this dude just laid next to me, and I think he had probably been drinking when he got called out, because he sat next to my face, chain smoking.
What?
For hours, and would yell "no dormir" anytime I close my eyes.
Wow.
Just one cigarette after another.
Wow.
And I can't move, so I'm just inhaling his secondhand smoke the whole time.
The least of your problems.
I was so cold that when they first got there, they had some space blankets, and they were all wearing puffy coats, and so they covered me in the puffy coats and put some space blankets on me, and eventually I warmed up. There was one point, it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're still working everything, and Dion is holding my neck, and he's shivering pretty bad. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Hey, Dion, how you doing, man?" He's like, "Will you shut up? We're here to help you." I'm like, Have you had anything to drink tonight? Have you eaten anything? Make sure you guys are eating and drinking too." And he's like, "Will you just shut up?" And I'm like, "Dion, are you cold? I'm pretty warm now. I got some extra layers in here. If you need one of these puffy coats back, you can have it." And he's like, "Will you just shut up, man? We're here to rescue you." And I'm like, "Dion, you're rattling my brain right now, shaking my head so bad. You need to warm up."
This is going to help me if you can stop shivering. Wow.
But yeah, it was just, I don't know if that was just the parent in me where I'm like, "Are you guys doing good still?" Or if it was still just shock, or me just having this big exhale of, I'm getting out of here. Like,
It
I'm
seems like
surviving this thing.
It's a sign that mentally you made a big shift.
Yeah. Like, I'm no longer questioning whether I'm going to survive the night. Like, I am going home. I don't know what the future looks like, but I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they decide, they didn't move me originally. They were just like, he's stable. He's flat. I'd been laying there for like 12, 13 hours at this point, so I'm probably developing bed sores even. But eventually they're like, okay, we're tired of sitting in the midst of this waterfall, so let's move him. And so they had a wooden backboard, and they eventually put me on this wooden backboard. And holy shit, that hurt.
How bad?
They rolled me up on my side and slide this thing under and strapped me down to it.
And no one had any painkillers or anything to give you at that point, or didn't want to?
And that's actually a good point in the story. So when they got to me, between everybody who came from Adventure Rec, we had 2 Tylenol and an ibuprofen.
Oh, wow.
So I took those at 11 p.m. The paramedic, when he got there, he told me he had a shot of morphine. He says, I have a shot of morphine. It's going to give you a half an hour relief. It's going to take us 8 hours to get out of here. You tell me when you want it.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't take it. So they finally put me on the backboard. They pick me up on the backboard, like 6 guys holding the backboard. They pick it up, and the way that it flexed, it moved my back in a way that I got a relief from the pain. Like, it eased the pain.
Really?
And so they're carrying me on that, and so it's super rugged terrain. Like, it's jungle mud, super steep. If you slip, you might fall in this river. There's a reason that this thing's portaged, and it's not just this waterfall we went over. There's more of it downstream, and so it's everybody being really careful and safe that nobody else gets hurt out here.
Right.
So they would tie a rope to the backboard. They'd have 1 guy with a belay device belaying, and then 6 guys carrying me on the backboard. And then when we would run out of rope, they would set me down, and that pain would come back. And then they would reset that anchor. They'd move up, reset the anchor, and then belay, carry me up farther. And it was 2 or 3 sessions of that. We get to the base of this cliff. And at the base of the cliff, they weren't ready yet. Like, it's a vertical cliff, so they need to set up a Z-drag and rope me up this, and they weren't ready yet. And this is 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm starting to see what's going on around me around this time, and that was the point where I was like, you know what, I'll have that shot of morphine now. So I held off until 6 a.m. Took the morphine. They got the Z-drag set up. They lift me up about 15 feet. That was all the rope they had in the Z-drag. So they reset the rope, and as they're doing it, like, Emmett's getting pretty frustrated and mad at this point. And I just remember him yelling at him to hurry up and, what are you doing? And let's get going. And so they had to reset the Z-drag 3 or 4 times to get me up this cliff. And I remember so they had like 3 straps on the backboard, and then they took a rope. And in my brain, it was a throw bag, but I don't know if it was like a throw rope or if it was an actual like legit rope or what it was. But in my brain, it was a throw bag. But They tied me to this backboard. They had the straps, and then they tied me with this rope, and they've got me in the foam C-spine collar now, and my arms are crossed across my chest, and I'm tied in, and I'm still under a space blanket, so I can't move at all. I am just stuck in this thing, and I'm tied to this, and I can feel the strand of the rope under my heel, and the irrational part of my brain was telling me that if that rope falls off my heel, I'm going to fall and die. And it's slipping on my heel. And I'm stuck on this cliff as they're resetting the Z-drag, and I'm starting to panic a little. So, like, if that thing comes off of my heel, I'm going to slip, I'm going to fall back to the river, another 100 feet down there, and I'm going to die. And in the end, it was irrational, but that was what was going on in my brain.
Was that part of the morphine kicking in too, you think? Or?
It could have been. The morphine was probably on its way out by that point, though.
Okay.
Because we're like 45 minutes later at this point. And so we get to the top of the cliff, and they're pulling, and that backboard doinks the cliff. It's overhung just enough that the backboard doesn't clear it.
Oh, man.
And they pull and it doinks. And they pull and it doinks. And they pull and it doinks. And they pull and it goes around it. And they get hands on it and they start pulling. And I can hear them pulling the backboard up, and I can hear the rope scraping the edge of that cliff. And so I'm just thinking that rope's going to shear and break off of the cliff here. And it doesn't. Like, they get me up. They pull me up.
Your brain's got nothing else to focus on but that.
Yeah. And they lay me down. And they send the ropes down, and they start pulling everybody else back up the cliff. And Manny, my favorite paramedic, is the third guy to be lifted back up. And they set me under the rope in the pulleys. So every speck of dirt on that rope was falling onto my face. So Manny's third guy up, he hits the top. I've been having all the dirt fall on my face, so I close my eyes. He hits the top just screaming, "No dormir."
I saw that coming.
No dormir, no dormir, no dormir. And I'm like, not sleeping. Look at my face, covered in dirt.
What's the Spanish word for dirt?
So he comes over and he like blows at my face and blows the dirt out, and I open my eyes and the dirt falls into my eyes. So then we're trying to get the dirt out of my eyes, and then the dude like puts his palm over, rather than move me, he just puts his hand over my face. And he's like, open palm over my nose and mouth, fingers spread open to where there's still gaps and the dirt's still falling between the fingers into my eyes. Like he left his finger spread open so he could see if I was closing my eyes. But that was the pathway for the dirt to keep falling into my eyes. And he's resting his palm over my mouth and nose so I can't breathe either.
Well, in fairness, probably no one's operating 100% at that point.
No. And I'm like, are you trying to kill me here, man? We're almost out of here. And so we had one more section, and I remember Emmett. I think Emmett was the last one up, or second to last one to get lifted up, and he hits the top, and I just hear Emmett go, "What the fuck, you guys? You were supposed to get him out of here." He didn't realize that I had just been laying under this rope for the 45 minutes as they pulled the rest of the crew out from the bottom. And so we hit the top, and we have one more section where we have to set up an anchor and pull up, and that was really rough footing. And it's these same guys pulling me up. It's Emmett, the paramedic, Dion, Cody, Sam, and somebody else I don't even remember. And Sam keeps slipping, and they're trying to carry me out, and Sam keeps slipping. And I turn to Emmett, and I'm like, "Emmett, you need to get Sam the fuck away from me." Like, I can't do it right now. Like, he's gonna slip and fall, and somebody else is gonna fall into that damn hole. And that was kind of my low point of being mad at Sam through this whole thing. And it was later at the hospital when Emmett was telling me that Sam like coordinated that whole rescue, and it's like, okay, now I feel kind of bad. I was so down on him, but
yeah,
to my credit, I was in pretty bad shape.
You needed a target, somewhere to direct your frustration. Yeah.
So we get to the top, and then we got another like quarter-mile hike back to the ambulance, and so we're just walking through a field, and it's morning now. We get to the ambulance, they put me in, and the road coming out of there is kind of up and down, a lot of stop and go, and every time they'd hit the brakes, I would slide, and I'd hit the top of the backboard, and the top of the foam on the seat collar would hit the back of the driver's seat. And then you hit the gas, and I'd slide back the other way. And then I'd slide up and hit my head, slide back and slide away, and then slide up and hit my head. So I'm like, it's a good thing I didn't have C-spine injuries, because I just hit my head like an extra 30 times getting to the hospital. And we get to the hospital, roll me into the ER.
Is this a hospital in Tlapacoyan, or
It's
is this further away somewhere?
Tezetlan.
Okay, so bigger city.
Tezetlan is the closest city to the Upper Halasingo.
Okay.
I think it's probably a little smaller than Tlapacoyan.
Is it? Okay.
But that's where we were.
It's just the closest hospital.
Yeah. We get there and roll into the ER, and the first thing they got to do is undress you. So we get there, and these nurses grab hold of my skirt and yank.
Oh, no.
And I just scream in pain. And they grab it again, and they yank again. And Emmett rode with me to the hospital in the ambulance, and they pulled on this thing twice. And I'm like, Emmett, tell them to cut this shit off of me. And I was like, but the skirt's passed, so like they can get the skirt now, but please just cut everything else off of me. I was blown away. They're just like, in the U.S., you break your leg and they cut your dry suit off of you. And
Sure.
Down there, you shatter your back, and they're like, oh, we're going to take your spray skirt off over your shattered pelvis.
That's nuts.
I still use that skirt.
Well, I guess there's one upside to the situation.
Yeah, but they get that off, and then they cut everything else off and take me in, and X-rays and CTs, and it's a small rural hospital in Mexico, so CT scans. At least they had the scanner, but they're on film.
Wow.
So we went in, did imaging. I'm back in the ER, just kind of holding still, and Emmett gave me my phone. So I called my mom.
Jeez.
And I'm like, she thought I came home early.
Wow.
And I'm like, nope. I'm fucked up in a hospital in Mexico. I'm in bad shape, but I'm alive. We don't know yet, but I'm here. And then I called my ex-wife, because, I got hurt on a Friday. I was supposed to fly home on Saturday and pick my daughter up Sunday. So I got hurt on Friday. They found me Friday night. We got to the hospital Saturday morning. So I call and I'm like, had an accident. I'm in the hospital in Mexico. I won't be home tomorrow. And then I called Chipley. I was like, hey, I'm hurt. I'm in Mexico. Won't be back to work Monday either. Scott's first instinct is, where do I fly to?
Really?
Like, where do I come?
Wow. And
I was like, let's hold on that for a minute, and we'll figure out what's going on before we do that. But Scott's first question was, where do I fly to? He's like, I'm on my way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it turns out having an ex-wife who's a nurse who spent years doing ortho, and her husband now is a ER nurse, and I'm broken in half in the hospital in Mexico. We were taking photos of my CT scans on the cell phone.
No way.
And texting them back by WhatsApp.
Wow. And
then they're forwarding them to the director of trauma at their hospital.
No way. That is amazing.
And I start getting messages from a Mexican phone number, and it's the director of trauma of the hospital in Loveland. He splits his time and does time in Mexico.
No way.
So he's basically telling me what's going on in my imaging and what's happened, because we had translation errors. We knew that I had a broken back. We had figured out I had broken my sacrum and my lumbars. But in Mexico, they said I had broken my clavicle. That was a translation error. It was my scapula. And the scapula is your shoulder blade, which is a really hard bone to break. But we had this trauma surgeon in Colorado saying, you're stable. Like, you're stable, book a plane, get home.
Hmm.
We'll do surgery when you're home.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we moved from Tezatlan to Puebla. We get to Puebla. I didn't have the right COVID test.
Oh, God.
So they sent me into a different, like, entry bay in the ER while we did a different COVID test.
Oh, my God.
And,
all the things.
And then they wheel me into the x-ray room. And the most painful part of all of this is when they would move me from table to table. So if they moved me from a stretcher to the bed, or from the bed to the stretcher to the imaging tables, was the most painful part of the whole thing. I had shattered my sacrum, so my pelvis is unstable. So every time they moved me, my pelvis is moving around.
Yeah, man. Can't imagine.
I had always, with the being married to an ortho nurse, I had always heard this: people are babies with pain, and they have the 1 to 10 pain scale, and she's like, you never hit 10, because if you hit 10, you passed out. So I'm like, yeah, I'm never hitting a 10. Like, if I'm awake and you're asking me, I'm not worse than a 9. I had multiple 9s. I may have had some 10s in there. I may have passed out a few times.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But we get in there and they're going to move me to the x-ray table, and I'm like, absolutely not. It's like, we don't need x-rays. We need a flight. Like, we need a plane to go home. So Emmett kind of gets in an argument with this guy because he's the only one who speaks Spanish well enough. And so eventually we get across, no more x-rays, and they take me out and they put me in another room, and then I'm finding out that we almost got kicked out of the hospital because the guy really didn't like Emmett telling him no. And then we're in this room and we're talking, and this doctor pops his head in and he goes, English? And so we find the one doctor in the hospital who, like, speaks real English. Like, he's just, like, down there from America. And we're like, yeah, this is what's going on. Here's what we need, and here's what we're doing. And so he kind of helped us out and got us into a room. And I get to the room. Well, the doctors in Mexico did not want to release me to fly without pinning my sacrum.
Really? And
I was like, no, I have the opinion of the director of trauma in Loveland that I don't need to do that. I'm not doing that. So I signed an AMA waiver. I left against medical advice. Not really against medical advice. I had medical advice telling me get home.
Did you have any hesitation about that? Were you like, could this have been wrong, or you were like, I trust this guy in Loveland more than?
Yeah, I felt, I thought my medical care in Mexico was fine. It was good. It was what I needed. I had the opinion of a doctor here within our medical system telling me my condition and what I needed and to come home. So I never questioned it. So we booked the flight, and there was some more, like, random stuff that just went wrong where, it was, your insurance doesn't cover that flight. So if you travel internationally to do anything potentially risky, buy traveler's insurance. I didn't have it, so I paid out of pocket. Which was why we set up a GoFundMe.
Yeah, it was tens of thousands of dollars.
The first place we called told us $130,000.
Oh my God.
It ended up we got it down to in the U.S. we had found one for $36,000, and we were like, "Yep, put the deposit down. We'll see you Tuesday." And then we found another one that was based out of Guadalajara that was $24,000, and they could get me home a day sooner. So that was what we ultimately ended up doing. But being Mexican based, they wanted to be paid in cash in advance. So
yeah.
So we
Western Union.
Well, it was they had a U.S. bank account.
Do they take Bitcoin?
So, yeah, they had a U.S. bank account. So it was get a cashier's check, put a cashier's check in this Bank of America account.
So that worked.
And then they're like late and stopped answering the phones, and we're like, oh shit, we just got scammed out of $24,000, and starting to wonder what's going on. And in the end, they just were having a hard time getting the permits and paperwork done.
That's good.
But they show up, and it was door-to-door service. I signed that AMA waiver at the hospital in Puebla. They quit giving me pain meds. And when my flight was late, we were supposed to leave at like 2 o'clock, And here it was 8 p.m. before they got there. So I'm begging for pain meds. They're not giving me any. And I'm like, here's my credit card. Just give me something. Like, put it on the card. I paid for all my hospital stays in Mexico on my credit card. So not something you can do in the U.S.
No, for sure.
So, it ended up being about $8,000 for all the everything in Mexico.
800,000 here probably.
Yeah, it actually was. My stuff ended up being less than I would have expected, but it was still a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
So it's good having insurance.
Yes, turns out.
And so they pick me up and take me to the plane, and they move me from the like hard plastic backboard in the ambulance over to this gurney that goes in the plane. So the plane is an air ambulance plane. It's a Learjet that's been kitted out for medical. And so half of the passenger cabin is a bed. The other half is where the two doctors would sit. And then there were two pilots. And this company out of Mexico, everybody on that plane was at minimum a medic, if not a full-on MD doctor.
Wow.
So they load me up on this bed, and the bed was really interesting because they put me in it, and it's just a squishy thing, and I feel like I'm going to fall out of it. And it pressurized with the cabin of the plane. So as the cabin pressurized, this bed pressurized around me and held me in place.
Oh, wow.
So we fly home, and
reasonably comfortable flight considering the condition
all things
you were
considered,
in.
it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Other than like the itinerary was we leave from Puebla, Mexico. We're going to land in Denver for 15 minutes, and then we're going to fly to Loveland. And the land in Denver was immigration and customs. And then we landed at 1 a.m. in Laredo. I'm like, all right, we're in Laredo. And I'm like, what are we doing in Laredo? We were supposed to go to Denver. No, we are going to Laredo.
What?
I'm like, we are going to Loveland, aren't we? They're like, yeah, and the doctor shows me the itinerary on his phone, and it's Puebla to Laredo to Loveland.
Okay.
They just told me the wrong thing ahead of time, and we needed fuel.
Yeah.
So we had to stop and refuel, and then we did immigration and customs, and we're in a Learjet, so you don't like go to the terminal. Immigration's come to you. So my head on this bed is next to the door that goes out of the plane. So they open up the plane, two Border Patrol agents, like M16s across the chest, like assault rifle kitted out, ready for whatever. And they're like, what do you got here?
Any drugs in here?
Like, what do you got here? And they're like, well, we got 4 Mexican citizens and then our patient who's an American citizen. And they're like, okay, you guys come off 2 at a time, bring his passport with you and bring his bag with you, because they had to do the whole immigration customs thing. And so they're gone for a while, and eventually one of the pilots gets up and leaves. And he like goes to the door, and I'm like, don't do it. They said 2 at a time. They got big guns.
I need my pilot.
And he leaves for a while, and he comes back, and it was me being irrational. But I was like, don't do it, man. So they fly me out, get me back, get me to Loveland. It's a short ambulance from the airport to the hospital in Loveland. And we get there, and we don't know when surgery is going to be. We just know we get there, we need to do more imaging. And so we basically landed, didn't even go to a room. We went straight to imaging. And they did x-rays again, and they did full CTs again. And that's when we found out I had a brain injury.
Isn't terribly surprising given what happened.
Yeah. So that was where we found out that I hadn't broken my collarbone. I had broken my scapula. I had broken my T3. I think I broke T3 in roadside.
Possibly, yeah.
And I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage in my frontal cortex of my brain. So I had a minor brain bleed.
Okay.
And then I shattered S1, so the sacrum shattered S1, I fractured down and through S2. And when S1 shattered, the pelvic bone sunk. So all the ligaments that connect through there went with it. And those ligaments are connected up into your lumbars. And it broke the transverse processes off of both sides of L4 and L5 of my lumbar spine.
Oof.
So I ended up shattering S1, fracture of S2, fractured transverse processes L4, L5, 15% compression fracture in T3, a fracture in the middle of my scapula, and brain bleed. I had a big gash in my chin that I kept telling them in the hospital in Tezitlan, oh, don't worry about it, it's just a scratch. It was way more than a scratch. Like it needed stitches. They should have forced that issue and put stitches in that. But compared to everything else, it was minor. But I scratched my chin up pretty good, and I just had some little scrapes and bruises on one of my arms. I think I smacked the cockpit rim with one elbow because one of my elbows had turned pretty purple.
I mean, like serious injuries, but also kind of miraculous that it wasn't worse given what had happened.
It's a game of millimeters. You know, it's millimeters of being paraplegic, millimeters being dead. You know, had it been quadriplegic, it would have just been dead. You'd never get out of there. Paraplegic, maybe you do. Definitely not back where I am now. So we get back and get to Loveland, and this is like 21st of December is when I got back to Loveland. I got hurt on December 17th. Back in Loveland on the 21st. Did not get into surgery until the next day. So they did end up giving me some chicken broth. Man, that was good chicken broth.
Best you ever had in your life.
Yeah. They gave me some Mexican Oreos and a Coke on the plane. And that was the last thing I had eaten because we got back and they're like, we don't know when you're going to surgery, so no food, no liquids. And they're like, okay, surgery is tomorrow afternoon, so you can have some chicken broth. And
going into surgery, did you have a sense at that point of like what a recovery was going to look like, or was it still just I don't know what my future is?
Nobody had given me any prognosis yet. Like I was back. I was home. I was going to survive, and I was home. And beyond that, I didn't know.
You weren't even thinking that far at that point, or
I didn't feel like I was in a position to think that far ahead. Like I was happy to be alive at the moment, and whatever happens. I didn't know what my quality of life was going to be for a year. I mean, I had been told prognoses before that, but I was rolling into pre-op for surgery, and I don't even know what they do for what happened to me. So I roll into pre-op and meet the surgeon, and he basically looks, he goes, oh, yep, we're going to do a sacral fixation. We're going to stick one screw in your pelvis. It'll go through your pelvis bone, through the bits and pieces of your sacrum, into the pelvis bone the other side. You'll be non-weight bearing for 2 months, and in 6 to 9 months, you'll be back to normal.
Wow.
And that was how I found out I was going to walk again.
Wow. That must have been a wild thing to hear.
Yeah. And then the anesthesiologist comes in, and he's getting me ready. He goes, hey, you know Oliver? I'm like, yeah, I know Oliver. He's like, yeah. Oliver called me this morning, said I might have you, and said to tell you hi, and he's thinking about you and giving you his wishes. And I was like,
how cool is that?
That was pretty meaningful to me to be like, have this anesthesiologist I'd never met before be like, hey, Oliver said he's thinking about you.
That's amazing.
So I haven't actually talked to Oliver since that happened.
No.
So Oliver, if you hear this, like that was pretty cool. They send me into surgery, put a sacral fixation is basically a pin. It's a 10-inch long, 8.5 millimeter diameter stainless steel screw that's in my pelvis. And it will always be in my pelvis. But it doesn't set off the scanners at the airport. Yeah. The way the surgeon put it to me is that that joint only has 1 degree of mobility. Like it doesn't rotate.
Okay.
So you can stick a screw in there and you don't lose any mobility.
Huh. So from that standpoint, it's a pretty easy thing to fix
Yep.
compared to other joints in your body.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm told 2 months non-weight bearing, which means absolutely no weight through your feet.
So you're in a wheelchair, I guess.
In a wheelchair, and I would carry a board with me everywhere. And if I needed to go from the wheelchair to the couch, I'd put a board from my wheelchair to the couch and slide across it. If I needed to go to the bathroom, I had my slide across my board to the toilet. Slide across my board, I'd have to sit on a shower seat. Couldn't stand up, so you'd sit in the shower. And ultimately, I spent a month in the hospital.
What about the other injuries? They didn't require surgical care?
No, so the T3 was just a monitor it. If they brace that, it's naturally braced by your rib cage. So they're just like, you're not going anywhere. You'll be fine. The shoulder blade was just it was in the meat of the bone and not in the joint. So it's just let it heal.
Yeah.
The brain bleed had resolved itself within 10 days.
Nice.
We did a final. I moved to the rehab hospital on December 27th, which was day 10, and we did a CT that morning, and the brain bleed was gone. So it had resolved itself in 10 days.
Nice.
It amounted to basically a concussion, but that brain bleed in the frontal cortex impacts your reasoning. So when I went to the rehab hospital, they put me in with the speech language pathologist, and I had to do occupational therapy with the speech and language pathologist, and it was to see if I could put together simple tasks and could coordinate things and keep track of them. So to like test out of that, we went down to this mock kitchen, and I had to explain to him how I would make a hot drink.
Interesting.
And then I had to make the hot drink in this mock kitchen.
Huh.
And we finish it, and I'm like, man, the coffee sucks in here, and you've got coffee here, so I'm making myself coffee. We make this and we get it, and I go to start drinking it. He's like, you don't want to drink that. Like, this mock kitchen is like all the old expired shit. I'm like, dude, I haven't had good coffee in 10 days now, and now you're telling me I can't even drink the hot drink I just made you? And he's like, okay, you're checked off. I don't need to see you anymore.
You passed with flying colors.
But so when I went to the rehab hospital, in the main hospital, go to the bathroom, like I spent a month peeing into bottles because the effort it took to go to the bathroom, that I might as well just pee in a bottle and then take all the bottles to the bathroom and dump them. But at the main hospital, they would put me on a bedpan, and I was on a lot of painkillers, and painkillers constipate you. So I'm like, it's Christmas Day. So 9 days since I had taken a crap. And I'm like sitting there, and I mentioned that to the nurse, like morning of Christmas, and she's like, oh, I know what we're doing today. So they just like loaded me up with every laxative.
Oh, man.
They basically gave me like double what you would get for like a colonoscopy prep. Still just nothing. And then it finally like cuts free and it's going. And I'm just like, at the hospital, they'd roll me over, put me on a bedpan, and then clean me up. Well, I go to the rehab hospital. They're like, we don't do that here. It's like, you go sit on that toilet. And so that was my introduction to the slide board, is going to the bathroom to go take a crap because I'm on all these laxatives. And so we go in there, and I take 3 people to help me get to this toilet and slide across, because it's so painful, and I don't have balance, and I feel like I'm going to fall, and I don't like it, and I get there and it just hurts, and I'm afraid to fall. So I grab this board, and I'm just holding this board as hard as I can. And eventually they get me to the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom, and they have to help me like wipe and clean, because I can't do that myself yet. And fight him tooth and nail to board back to that. And then we go to the bed and I fight him again. And I'm holding this board for dear life. And they get me into bed and they go over and they draw right on the board. They're like, you have a 10-pound limit on your right arm or your left arm because your shoulder blade is broken. And you've been exerting about 80 pounds of pressure on that board, so you better calm down. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. It's like, you can put me on a limit all you want. I'm going to hold that board as hard as I can. So I did 3 weeks in the rehab hospital, and it would be about 3 hours a day down in the gym. And go down, and I'm non-weight bearing and 10-pound limit on my arms, so I'm not actually allowed to do anything. I would transfer from wheelchair to a like a bench with padding on it, and occasionally we would like adjust the angle I was sitting at, and I would sit there. They'd have the little like under desk exercise bikes, and I could do that with my arms. So I'd do an exercise bike with my arms just to get movement. That was like all I was allowed to do. And
wow.
I remember being in there, and that rehab hospital is a lot of older people, and you're watching people coming in and out, and they hate their physical therapist because they just put them through pain, and they're complaining that they got to walk across this room, and I'm just sitting there being like, I can't wait until I can walk. It's like, I'm going to walk again, and I'm going to love it. And so it's just that perspective piece.
Totally.
These guys think this is the worst thing in the world. Here I am sitting in my wheelchair, not allowed to, like envious of how bad walking is hurting them right now.
Right. You'd love to feel that pain if you could. Yeah. But were you feeling determined at that point? Like
from the start, I felt determined I was going to come home. I was going to come home. I was going to be a parent again. Beyond that, I didn't know. And then I was told I'd be normal again. And I was like, okay, that's what we're working to. It's like, I don't know what that is, but that's the goal. When I left for Mexico, I weighed 189 pounds. When I left the rehab hospital, 6 weeks later, so 2 weeks in Mexico, paddling and eating and drinking the whole time, so I didn't lose weight there. But 4 weeks of being in a hospital, I weighed 161 pounds when I left that hospital.
Jeez.
So I had gone from 189 to 161 pounds.
In that short a time span.
And it was muscle atrophy.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So I just, by the time it was a month in the hospital, did my month at home, had in-home physical therapy a couple times a week, in-home occupational therapy a couple times a week, and really we just stretched because that was all I was allowed to do. Sit at home. People would come and see me. That was about all I could do, is sit on the couch and watch a bunch of movies and eat my oxys every 4 hours and think about how addicted I was getting to oxys and how am I going to get off of these.
Yeah, right. Where were you mentally at this point? I mean, you had this major physical trauma, but also mental trauma. Were you processing that yet, or were you just still in such a deteriorated physical state that you couldn't go there?
It was a mix. I came out of this, and it was just from that moment that I regained awareness looking at Adam's body. I knew I had lost a friend, but I couldn't let myself acknowledge it. I needed to survive, and then I needed to get home, and then I needed to, get fixed, and then I needed to get to the other hospital, and then I needed to get through rehab. And the first day I allowed myself to stop and think about it was they did a service for Adam and Steamboat, and they did it over Zoom. So I was in the rehab hospital and was able to call into Zoom and at least in a way be a part of Adam's service. That was the first time I let myself cry. Like that was the first time where I was like, okay, I can have this hour. And then when that hour was done, I was back to recovery. It took me a while to really let that sink in. I still don't know that I've let it sink in fully. I've since, I'm still drawn to that big thing, that hard thing. I think even more so now than I was before, because now I'm drawn to doing hard things, but now I'm seeking out feeling. When you go through something like that, the amount of pain you go through is perspective altering and life altering. And in some senses, I feel like nothing is ever going to hurt that bad again. So I can do a lot of stuff that is never going to hurt that bad. And in a way, I wonder if I'm searching for that feeling of that bad of pain. Spencer came and saw me in the hospital when I was in the rehab hospital, and he had made a comment about how somebody else he knew had become an ultra athlete after breaking their back. And I laughed at him and told him, that's a stupid idea. That will never be me. And here we are 3 years later, and that's me. It ended up at 2 months. Met with the surgeon, did full x-rays. Every time I go get x-rays, they'd be like, oh, stand up. And I'd be like, I'm not allowed to. I got to lay on the table for that. Like they wouldn't read the chart that I'm not allowed to stand up for my x-ray. And so at my 2 months, and I had this nerve pain show up at 6 weeks in my feet. And it had started to show up to where my feet just, when you get really cold and you get that pins and needles feeling when you're getting feeling back, that's what my feet felt like 24 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't sleep. It just hurt horribly.
Damn.
And oxys do nothing for nerve pain.
Really?
So our first thought was, am I getting blood clot? Am I having this pain because I'm having a blood clot in my legs because I haven't used my legs? So we went and did an ultrasound. Wasn't a blood clot. It was just nerve pain. So they put me on medicine for nerve pain, which in one sense actually helped me wean myself off of the oxycodone because oxys don't help nerve pain. So I'm taking pills for nerve pain, and the nerve pain was so much worse than anything else.
Wow.
That I was able to really back off the oxys during that. And I found if I was taking the non-narcotic Flexerol, which is a muscle relaxer, that was a bigger difference for me than whether I was getting the oxys on schedule or not. But so I had this nerve pain, and they do this x-ray at 2 months. My screw bent.
Oh.
And I'm like, damn. I have not bared weight in my legs. Like I have been religious about not putting weight in my legs, and my screw bent. And the surgeon was just like, there's so much pressure in your pelvis that sometimes the screw bends. It's like, we just call it a micro bend. It's nothing you did. But he's like, but your screw bent, your bones haven't healed as much as I would like, and you have the nerve pain. So another month.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up
demoralizing.
3 months in the wheelchair, and I thought I was going to walk that day.
Wow.
And instead I got another month.
Wow.
And I just looked at it as, well, I'm going to feel a month better in a month. And he told me this. He's like, we were going to be restricted weight. He's like, we're going to give you another month, and when we clear you, you're going to be cleared with no restrictions. It's basically, if you can handle it, you can do it. So we did another month, non-weight bearing. Atrophied all my legs. The most bizarre part was the calluses on my feet, like, wore away. They weren't being used, so the calluses would just like wear off.
I never even thought about that. So your feet are like smoother than they've ever been.
Yeah. So I would, take a shower, and then I'd go and I'd dry off, and I'd go to dry my feet off, and like all the skin is just falling off on the towel. So I would have, I had 2 towels, and I learned the lesson early on with the slide board that you take your shower, you put a towel down on the board. Because if you don't, your testicles stick to the board, and they stick, and you slide, and then you sit on your testicles. And it hurts. So you got to put a board down to save the boys.
Speaking of pain.
So I had my towel that I would use on the slide board, and then I'd have my towel that I would dry myself off with, and then the towel I'd use on the slide board, I'd use the ends of it to dry my feet off, and then all the skin would come off on that towel.
The things you learn.
Yeah.
Damn. What was like? I don't know. Like when I heard about this, it was kind of early on, and I think I didn't have a ton of information, but I heard what happened to Adam, and then I just knew that you were seriously injured, and I just kind of remember having this sinking feeling because, like, not like close friends with either of you, but consider both of you friends who I've known for a long time and paddled with like every year, basically. If it's on something, run into you. And I didn't really like know what I could, like, I think the instinct is to want to help, but like not really knowing like what the right thing to do is to help. And, I remember like the GoFundMe page went out, and I was like, well, I can do that. And I remember, I think I just sent you a text message at some point after a little bit, just saying like, hey, I don't, like just want you to know I'm thinking about you. And if like it helps to talk or anything, like I'm here. But like, what were the things that helped you, or things that weren't helpful, like during that period in terms of people engaging with you?
Yeah. I for one thing, I think every incident like this, is going to be different, and people are going to react to it different.
Of course.
So I only know it from my own perspective. That GoFundMe was jaw-dropping to me. We put that out hoping that it would cover the flight home. That GoFundMe covered the flight home. It covered all of my medical expenses, and it allowed me not to go back to work full time until I was ready to. So it's as crazy as it is, that GoFundMe really took a lot of the pressure and mental part of just that aspect of life away. But for me, I decided from the start, I'm alive. I can focus on the positive. I have not always been that person. I used to be, I've had lots of paddling friends through the years where they would make fun of me for being the negative person, the hater, and that kind of stuff. And my mindset through this whole thing was control what you can control and think to the positive. I'm not a religious person, but after going through this, I think that power of thought and just trying to focus on the positive does have a tangible effect. I appreciated everybody who reached out. I did not do a good job of responding to people. And a part of that was I just didn't have the bandwidth. But every single message I got, that GoFundMe just blew me away. The people who were giving a lot of money and the people who were giving $15. I mean, I had, I had 16-year-old kids giving me their lunch money essentially on this, and
that's amazing.
That was as impactful to me as any other big donation I got in there, and I had always told myself I was going to go back and send out individual like thank yous to all of those, and I never did, and I regret that I never did that, and a part of that was I didn't have the mental capacity for it until about a year later. And then I felt like, man, it's been a year. Now I feel like it's been too long to be sending this out. And in hindsight, I should have, even at a year, like sent those messages because that helped a lot. But even just getting the text messages and the people who would reach out, like Noel Parker reach out to me, and he's like, hey, and Noel and I, we'd paddled together a couple times, but by no means close or anything. And, he sends me a picture of his x-ray of his hardware and his pelvis saying, hey man, I basically did the same thing, and his was even worse. And,
really?
And he's like, yeah, I ran OB Joyful 9 months after I did this. He's like, there's recovery here.
Wow.
I had a couple other people reach out with similar injuries that I never even knew about. And they're like, hey, here's my experience, and here's how you're going to get through this. And it was actually the day I went home, I talked to Rolf Kelly. And Rolf has broken his back twice. And I'm talking to Rolf, and he's like, okay, here's how you're getting off the oxys. He's like, here's what you're going to go through, and here's how you're going to deal with it. And, I really appreciated all of that messages and advice and just anecdotal like stories, and all that stuff was huge. And the end of the day, what brought me to kayaking was the sport of kayaking and the feeling on the water. But after being in that sport for 20 plus years, what kept me really in that beyond I want to do the hardest thing and I want to run all this whitewater was the people and the relationships. And after going through this accident, I think I had greater appreciation for those relationships and those people. And as much as it frustrates me to like go kayaking and have people spend more time getting their gear on and drinking beer than actually going kayaking, those times have their place too. Like I don't have to be this, grumpy old guy being like, I came to go kayaking, I'm going kayaking.
Yeah, it's giving you a little more perspective on things. Yeah. Do you ever allow yourself to kind of like go back to the timeline split and say, what if the alternate timeline took place and we got out at the eddy and did the portage and went back to Adventure Wreck at night and had a good time, and I flew home the next day? And like, do you ever go there?
Very rarely. It's coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I had several conversations with Sally early on, Adam's girlfriend, and we would kind of reminisce on the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and in the end we would kind of tell each other we can't do it. We can't do the coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
As much as kayaking was my identity before this happened, I felt, so many pieces of my life, I kind of catered to the sport of kayaking, and so many of my relationships that I still had were because of kayaking, and relationships that I didn't have anymore were because of kayaking. And it was an identifying thing, and that was ripped away from me. I struggled with that a little bit early on of, I don't know what my identity is now. Because I wasn't sure if I would ever get in a boat again. And I still don't know what kayaking will be. I've made the kind of the connection of kayaking used to be a lifestyle for me, and now it's just a hobby. It took a lot for that to become that hobby. But I was never a runner, ended up becoming a runner and running now, and I'm just as happy to go run instead of go kayak. And I used to not do anything but go kayaking. Like, if there was an option to go kayaking that day, I went kayaking. And now it's like, well, yeah, I'll still go kayaking, but I don't need it.
Yeah. Do you think that, well, it like reminds me of a coworker I used to have. He was Indian, and I'm sure I'll butcher what it's supposed to be, but he said that there's like an Indian saying that like translates kind of like to everything that happens for the good. Something like that. It sounds very Eastern in philosophy, right? And you kind of mentioned that an incident like this makes you think somewhat philosophical. Do you see any of that truth in that kind of statement? Like, do you feel like this has transformed me in a way that maybe isn't, all bad? That there's
yeah, there's been a lot of positives that have come out of it, and it's taken all of the 3 years to get there. If I could go back and not experience this, one, Adam would still be here, and two, I would sleep through the night without back pain. So I mean, yeah, if I could, I would in a heartbeat go back and
of course
and change that, but I can't. It's maybe there's some quantum state where I'm living that life where things went well that day. It's not the one I'm in, so
yeah.
It happened. Can't change it, so you kind of just have to go with it and embrace it.
Yeah.
I'm not upset that through this I've gotten healthier in the sense of running now. I feel like I'm from a cardiovascular standpoint, I'm in better shape than I ever was. I lost a lot of muscle and never put that weight back on, but I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. I've really taken to running and mountain running, and started running 14ers 2 years ago, and spent a lot of this summer running 14ers, which I'd never even hiked 14ers before, and I grew up at the base of 15 of them.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
And
physically, you feel like you said you have some lingering pains, but like when you go running and stuff, you feel good.
Yeah, and it's never going to be what it was. I have nerve damage in my tailbone, so I can't feel my tailbone from halfway up from my anus up to my low back. There's a 6 to 8 inch just numb spot that I don't feel.
Do you know, might that still recover? I know nerves can take incredibly long. Yeah.
It's kind of assumed if it's still there after 2 years, that's permanent.
I see.
But it doesn't impact anything. Sitting in this chair for, we're rolling like 5 hours now.
Impressive. Take that, Joe Rogan.
Sitting in this chair for 5 hours, I'm starting to feel that spot in my tailbone, but it doesn't impact anything.
Yeah.
Early on, I actually early on started liking running because it made me feel my pelvis.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel this pressure through my pelvis that would, if I went far enough, would turn into pain. And I chased that.
Interesting.
Through rehab, my physical therapist and I kind of set the bars at if you're sore for a day, you're doing good. If you're sore for 2 days, you might be overdoing it a little. If you're sore for 3, you overdid it. I was sore for 3 once through the entire rehab.
That's amazing.
The other one that we had was only increased by 10% per day. So if I walk a mile, the next day I can walk 1.1 mile.
Mm.
So I would walk a mile and then I would walk 2. And I'd go to PT and I'd be like, yeah, I'm a little sore today. He's like, well, what'd you do? It's like, well, I walked a mile on Monday and 2 miles on Tuesday. And he's like, was that 10%? And I'm like, no, but I could do it.
And to some extent,
Yeah.
like you've got to listen to your body. Your body can tell you things that a physical therapist can't.
Yeah. So we would come in and he'd be like, where are you at? And what'd you do? And how much more than 10% extra did you do?
It's like, I know this guy. Yeah.
So we eased our way through it. And through that all, I had one day where I was sore for 3 days. And I had gone out and hiked, it was a 10-mile trail that had 3,000 feet of gain on it. And it was late June of 22. So it was right around 6 months. So 3 months non-weight bearing, and so about 3 months into being able to walk again, I did this 10-mile hike, and my pelvis locked up a mile from the bottom. So I basically just waddled out like a penguin. And, couldn't walk again for a day.
Damn.
But in the end, that trail is the Crozier Mountain Trail in the Big Thompson Canyon.
I know that one.
That trail is a benchmark for me now.
Yeah.
You know, I hiked it and locked up. I went back the next year and ran it.
Nice.
And then I went back this year and tried to run it in 2 hours.
Nice.
Didn't quite make it. I was like 2:05. And then I went up, and there's a way to do a marathon on Crozier where you hit all 3 trails and you end up doing 26 miles and like 10,000 feet of vert or something. And so that's the evolution that I have in my mind that I'll eventually do.
It's from that physical recovery standpoint, it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've been able to accomplish things that are
from going from not knowing what it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not knowing if I could walk again to you should be normal. And then I went to my primary care physician. I was like, well, the surgeon said I'd be normal. And he's like, you might pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, define normal. Yeah.
He's a bone doctor, and the bones will be normal, but not so sure about everything else. Like,
right.
You did a lot.
Right. You can't do that much damage and be perfect again.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've gotten to a state where you can really still appreciate the physicality of your body and enjoy life.
Yeah, there was a point in the middle of last summer where, actually it might have even been last spring, where I finally hit the point where it was like, you know what, I can physically go and do more than 90% of the population can do again. And that was a big step for me. So normal has changed, you know. I'm never going to kayak 100 days in a season again.
Yeah. But it sounds like you don't probably have the desire to.
I don't.
You see it differently than you used to. Yeah.
I've had inklings of interest come back into it. I never thought I would run Class 5 again, and then I ended up, doing the Narrows race. And last year I went and did the Black Canyon again, and last year I did Gore, and just it wasn't for me. And I did a Gore lap this year with Mike Bone, and ended up running the meat line at Gore.
Nice.
Walked tunnel just because I don't need that roll of the dice at 900. But did Gore, and that day was just, I hadn't seen Mike since I had gotten hurt, and I was like, man, I'm going to Gore so I can spend the day with him.
Yeah, back to it being about the people.
Yeah. Same thing with Bailey Fest this year. I did Bailey last year, and it was okay. I walked First Falls, walked Supermax, and I had an okay day in there. And that was I guess I ran Supermax once last year. And that was the point where I was like, I could go do the Black Canyon and do kind of the Black Canyon light and walk the hard ones
Class 4 style,
and get the adventure. And turns out even when you keep the whitewater light, sometimes shit can go wrong and turn into an epic. But
we'll have to save that story for another day, because that is a story. But
at that point I thought I was going to quit kayaking in the middle of that incident.
Just you can't handle
at
seeing
that
more
point,
trauma on the river.
I had kayaked for over 20 years, and the worst injury I'd ever been involved with was I had bruised a rib. And then twice in 2 calendar years, I had bad incidents happen related to kayaking. I was just like, yep, I'm done.
Yeah.
So this year I just came into it and went back to playboating and rafting and taking my kid rafting. I spent more days on the river rafting with my kid this year than I spent on Class 5.
Nice.
And that was the balance that I was happy with.
That's cool. Yeah, having a daughter very similar in age to my daughter, I was curious about that. Like, has this incident changed your relationship with her and how you interact with her?
I think it has. I think I'm more attentive and do a better job with parenting than I did before. The process of going through the actual recovery and that piece of it was hard.
Because you couldn't spend the time with her that you wanted to, I'm sure.
It was peak COVID, so I mean she's under 16, so she's not allowed in the hospital.
It's nuts.
So I saw her once, and it was when I moved hospitals from the main hospital to the rehab hospital. I saw her. That was the only time I saw her for 6 weeks, because this accident happened at the end of a 2-week trip to Mexico.
Yeah, that's where something's wrong with protocols, I think. But
yeah. Well, and then I go home, and I'm still non-weight bearing and dependent on. My mom came and stayed with me and was helping me, and so there were still the challenges of how much I could be with her. We kind of, our mom and I kind of came up with an agreement of how we would handle it, and it was maybe not what I would have preferred, but what I think was probably the appropriate thing. But that was hard too, because I wanted more time with her than I was getting with her, but at the same time, I mean, I couldn't do anything except for bounce from bed to bathroom to couch.
Yeah. Do you think she was able to kind of process fully what was going on, what had happened to you?
I don't know. I mean, she was 9, almost 10 when that happened, I think. Yeah. So it's tough to know. I think kids know more than we sometimes give them credit for.
Yeah.
She knew that I was hurt really badly, and she knew that the person I was with didn't survive it.
Yeah.
And she, unfortunately, at that age, she had been exposed to that sort of situation a little more than any of us would like our kids to be exposed to. And some of that was pets, and you lose pets, and that's tough. But we lost a family member in there that was really hard on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So she had been exposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the whole idea of loss was something that she was definitely aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she probably, I mean, that makes sense to me that she understood maybe in a stronger way than she could or would articulate, probably in words or verbally. Or
yeah. It's not something I would want to expose my kid to.
No, of course. Man, well, I might run out of tape here.
Yeah.
So we probably better wrap it up.
Yeah.
But Nathan, I mean, thanks for sharing that. And actually, there was one other thing I kind of wanted to just cover in, the retelling of this, because we talked kind of before about it, and you'd even mentioned to me like the Outside Magazine had approached you when they heard about this story somehow. I don't know how. And said like we want to have you tell this story and make a show out of it. And you were like, I'm not comfortable with that. And you've been very open, though, like talking to people individually and being very like open and honest and telling people, in person on an individual basis about what happened. But like, could you just kind of like talk about, your discomfort with like sharing the story and why kind of like you feel like you want to share it now in this format?
Yeah. I don't want to glamorize the fuck up. I don't want, I think what happened was 100% an accident, and everybody looks at these kinds of incidents and they want to, what's the lesson learned, and, why wasn't there a sign there, and why didn't you do this? And, sometimes it's just shit goes wrong. Systemically, at that level of kayaking, I feel like it's just, you go on a river like that with somebody who has done it, they guide you down it, and I've done this for other people many times, that's just kind of the culture of kayaking is, I know this river, I know where the portages are, just follow me, I'll give you the beta as we go.
Yeah, we've all done it. Yeah.
Very rarely that goes the wrong way. And even more rarely, that goes the wrong way with the consequences that this did.
Yeah.
I've been critical of whitewater accidents in the past, of blogs and videos, and what I have personally perceived as being too nonchalant about the possibility of what could have happened in those situations, and felt like some of those situations weren't appropriate for that medium to be putting out as blog posts or videos, and so that led me a lot to not really wanting to put that story out as a mass media type thing. And Outside Magazine was a girlfriend of a guy that I'd paddled with before and had known about my story, and he had reached out, and I just wasn't ready for it at that time. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I don't know if that's the medium that I want that story out there. Whereas your podcast is focused on a whitewater tailing podcast that's, intended for paddlers and is a little bit more in the know of the sport of kayaking and some of that nuance of why that accident happened.
Mm-hmm.
From the start, I've been told constantly that, you didn't know. Adam made a mistake, and there's no way I could have known that was happening. But at the same time, I've always felt I was there on the river with him. I'm just as responsible. You go do a river like that without somebody who's done it before, and you're getting out at every drop and scouting and checking lines.
Right.
And so there's maybe a little bit of a systemic piece of kayaking culture of, I've got a guide so I can turn off. I don't have to read the beta.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not the only one who does that.
I mean, there was a podcast I did with Aniel on the same river.
Yeah.
Lower down, right? Same thing happened
And
didn't turn out as consequential as what happened to you, but it could have.
It easily could have. And you look at all the accidents that have happened in the Talapacoyan area, all of the major ones have been on the Halasingo. So there have been...
That's interesting. You're right.
At least the ones that I know of.
Yeah, me too.
There have been, I think, at least 2 drownings at that Jacuzzi Rapid Blow dungeon where people have been revived. There was the group that went through the black hole, Felix, who fell while scouting Twisted.
I didn't know about that one.
He was an up-and-coming paddler from Germany, slipped and fell while scouting Twisted and killed him.
Jeez.
And then my accident. And so if I ever do get back to Mexico, and I've thought about it, I might just stick with Big Banana.
Yeah.
Maybe Philip.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of places in the world to go too. So
Yeah.
you might have maxed out your fun in Mexico.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be an interesting experience too, probably, to go back there. It might be.
I've thought about going back just to go and see the spot again and see the drop. I've gotten to the point where a couple times a year I'll do something hard, something that I consider hard.
Mm-hmm.
And this year those hard things was Paul Raymond convinced me to take up skiing and do the Grand Traverse, which is a 37-mile ski-mo race from Crested Butte to Aspen. And it ended up being a reverse course, so we went halfway and then back to Crested Butte. And when I do these hard things, and this happened at the Traverse, we're like at the last spot of transition on Crested Butte Mountain where we'd ripped our skins the last time to ski out the last piece. And it's like at the top of a ski lift, and all these kids are getting off, and I'm bawling. And I'm just sitting there crying. And it's because it's that relief of we're done, we're finished, we're finishing this. And man, I wish Adam could be here for this. And Adam doesn't get to do this. And so those things hit me, and we're sitting there with all these kids, and I'm bawling, and I look over at Paul, and I'm like, how are we finishing this? Like, we're crossing this finish line together, right? He's like, oh, absolutely. So we did that and finished that. And
that's cool.
Then this summer, I after the Traverse, I decided I wanted to do a 50K. And so the 50K I picked was, climbing La Plata and then going over to Huron and then coming back to La Plata and back to the car. So I did this 32-mile, 13,000-foot day.
Wow.
Same thing. I get to the end of it, and my brain just goes to Adam. And that's a part of how I keep Adam with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adam and I will forever be linked because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel the same way with Emmett. I think Emmett saved my life, and I'm going to follow whatever Emmett does in his life and keep an eye on him for the rest of my life, because I feel like he's saved my life and is how I'm still here.
Yeah.
On the anniversary, I always try to do something. The first anniversary, I backcountry skied and was with some friends, and at the time, so that accident happened 12:45 in Mexico. So at 11:45 here in Colorado on that day, I stop and have my words with Adam and leave some tears behind with him, and then I go on. So I did a year skiing with some friends in the backcountry, and second year was skiing with Bailey at Copper. And, that was my first day ever on skis. But same thing, 11:45, stop and have my words and leave my tears. And same thing this year. I went up to Hidden Valley and did it at Hidden Valley by myself. And this year was a little bit different for me. This year I approached it more as this is a birthday than an anniversary of a horrible thing, because it kind of is. I don't think I should have survived that fall, and I did. So it's kind of a new outlook on life and second chance, and try to be a good person.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks for sharing that. And I don't know, I think there's power in those stories, and I think it is valuable that you shared it. And it's an amazing kind of story of loss and recovery. And I'm always happy to see you. I always like paddling on the river with you, and I'm looking forward to what you do in the future. Hey, I just wanted to close this one out with a word. Adam was really beloved by the community. He had many people that were close to him in Colorado and in Washington especially. He was a major contributor to the boating community in Steamboat, and I personally miss his easy smile and sharp sense of humor, as I know many, many others do as well. So even though Nathan wore me down in this interview, I wanted to thank him again for trusting me and trusting you with his story. I believe there's power in sharing these stories. So with that, I want to also give a shout out to everybody that sent me a message saying they were stoked to see the podcast back on. I'm stoked to have it back on. So thanks for listening. And until next time, see you on the river.